Ready to go.
Hey, welcome to the
Oh, somebody's got audio on.
testing. Testing.
You turn the sound off on your computers.
Testing. It's turned down all the way. Let's try it again. Testing.
Phones can also cause it.
Oh. Oh, no. Okay.
Hello?
Testing.
There you go.
It was me. Okay, welcome everybody to the regular HARC meeting of July 16th, 2025 at 5:01 PM. It's a hybrid meeting at Rebecca Hall. With respect to this evening's meeting, if you're joining by phone, you can dial it at 301-715-8592. Meeting ID is 898-5033-9990. Password tonight is 618-929. The purpose of HARC is to preserve, maintain, and enhance the historic character and architectural integrity and cultural resources of the town and the town historic landmark. We'll do our roll call first of all from town council. We have Elena, thank you. Staff, Piper, Kristen, Allie, Darren. Anybody else online? See anybody? And the board roll call?
Kieran Lanham, Stacy Lake, Matt Lee.
Okay,
Bob Mather.
okay. Do we have approval of the minutes from June 18th, regular meeting?
I move to approve
I have one item.
oh, okay, then go ahead.
Under the sidewalk, the location is not stated.
No.
I think it typically is.
Right, the 45-second meeting that we had, you mean?
One of May.
Well, if I may, that was whenever we kind of skipped over announcing that. So, and I think you were going to double and go back to it, but we never did.
forgot.
So it
Okay.
wasn't stated in the meeting.
Acknowledged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve absent that correction?
Shall I go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay. I move to approve the HARC meeting minutes dated June 18th, 2025.
I'll second. Kieran, yes. Stacy, yes. Matt, yes.
Mark, yes.
Bob, yes.
And I move to approve the HARC chair meeting of June 20th as written. Staff announcements?
Sure. So a few quick announcements. One is that next week is our comprehensive plan kickoff week. We have the team from Logan Simpson coming from Monday through Thursday. I will send you all an email with information about all the public sessions. So there is a comprehensive plan kickoff on Monday evening at Telco. There are various listening sessions if you'd like to have a personal one-on-one half an hour with the consulting team and staff to share your ideas and input to the process really early on. There are gondola chats. We're going to ride up and down the gondola with people if they'll let us and ask them lots of questions about their ideas and thoughts about the town and our future. In addition, I wanted to ask you all, and I can do this by email, but we had talked about picking a time on Tuesday afternoon to have a small, like sort of HARC special focused discussion session. I wanted to sort of get a sense of the room as to whether that is feasible in an afternoon time. And if it is, I can schedule it anytime between noon and 4. Otherwise, we can look to the following evening. So I didn't set that in stone. I just wanted to get a sense of people's schedules and whether a daytime 1 hour could work in your schedules.
22nd?
Yes, the 22nd, which is the Tuesday.
I'm good anytime after 1.
Okay.
I'm retired.
Huh.
Go ahead.
I'm likely not in town next week, so.
Okay. No worries.
I'm open now, but that'll probably change.
I will plug your calendar.
I'd prefer an evening.
Prefer evening.
Sorry.
Okay.
No.
All right. So
What time?
I will work towards the Wednesday evening then, if that sounds okay to everyone. And I will.
Tuesday doesn't work.
Wednesday doesn't work.
22nd.
Okay.
22nd is Tuesday.
Okay, the Tuesday evening does not work for them because we have another program that evening. So I will send out a few different dates, given that there's an evening interest.
If daytime works for everybody else.
Okay.
It works for me now.
Does it work for you, Kieran?
Yeah, I can make that work.
Okay.
You said an hour, right?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
an hour on Tuesday afternoon.
Book it.
I will book it
Or
and I will put it on your
what are we
calendars.
doing to prepare? What do we get to see or read?
You do not need to do anything to prepare for this one. This is their first community engagement program, so they are facilitating loads of interaction. They will be asking you questions on the spot, and they're doing this with every group that they will be meeting with. And so no work, no homework assignment ahead of time, more bring your thoughts and ideas, and especially this group, of course, with historic preservation as your focal point. They will be asking questions that tie into this particular commission.
So if we
So
don't think it's emphasized enough, by
you
town government, we should make
you
that-
can share anything, yes, anything you would like. And I think what I'm trying to do is have this really early touch point, and then there will be many additional touch points for our community in the year ahead. So this is right out of the gate.
Sometime
Perfect.
between 1 and 4
Yep,
on Tuesday.
yes,
Can you let us know tomorrow?
I absolutely will.
Book it. Anything else?
The only other thing I wanted to check in with you about, we extended the deadline for the preservation awards. But even though we extended that deadline, we only received 4 total applications. Those all came from one architectural firm. So I wanted to reach out
Who could that be?
to ask, I will not say, reach out to ask whether I should close and we review those 4 applications and make selections, or whether, because there have been some people in the community who have asked whether they could still apply, whether I should extend it to try to
How many
get
of those?
just a couple.
Two.
So
Did they cover all, their 4 categories? Did they have one in each category or?
I think if we were only receiving applications from one entity, I would be recommending, I would say 2 rise more to the top, and I would suggest awarding less than 4 this year. You do not have to
Right.
award all
We've
4.
turned them down before.
Yeah.
So I would say you would be selective in
I'm
terms of,
pretty good with a 2-week extension and see if we capture something else. Why not?
Fine with me.
okay.
Okay, let's just do it.
Can you help me out in spreading the word and shaking people down? You all know so much about the most significant projects in town, and we've been trying to, as staff, give some good pokes to some great projects, and I hope you'll do the same. So thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Kristen.
Of course.
And before public comment, I may, if we get done at reasonable time, which I think we will, share just some updates from, I met with the preservation director in Newport, Rhode Island
Nice.
last week. Daughter was getting married there, and some fascinating observations, but I can tell you, they've been at it 300 years. And we are not as stringent. And you're from the East Coast, you know what happens in Cape Cod and some of those
Sure.
places. I got a wake-up call about how seriously we should be taking our job. And I've been pretty serious,
Mhm.
but not compared to these folks. Not at all. So maybe I'll share a couple things at the end. Public comment on non-agenda items. Anybody have a comment on non-agenda items this evening? And I don't see anybody online. So we'll go ahead and go through the process reminder for everybody's benefit. Process is that the HARC chair introduces the project, staff gives a presentation and answers our questions. The applicant then gives a presentation, which we ask to be less than 30 minutes. And the public then is invited to make comments less than 3 minutes, please, each. And if somebody goes before you and says all the relevant things you wanted to say, just say, I agree wholeheartedly, and you don't have to repeat it all, because we do take those seriously and listen. And then the applicant may address and rebut any comments, public comment ends, and HARC deliberates and hopefully comes to a decision. With that, we'll do our first of 3. There's one continuation, public hearing projects tonight. It's 457 West Pacific Restoration Edition. Consideration of an application for a small scale addition to existing buildings that will increase the structure's floor area by more than 25% and result in a building that will contain more than 1,000 square feet, but less than 2,500 of floor area inside the district. per land use code 7203A1B3. And also a small scale repositioning of a designated THS primary structure inside the THLD per 7203A3B4, and a minor scale alteration of a rated structure that does not increase the floor area per 7203A3C2, and a minor scale repositioning of a THS secondary structure inside the district per 7203A3C4, and insubstantial, it's all the buttons tonight, insubstantial scale, insignificant alterations to a designated structure of non-historic windows and doors per 7203A37A. Legal description is lot 15 and the east half of lot 16, block 5. West Telluride is at 457 West Pacific, and the accommodations 1 district at 457 West Pacific. Jack LLC is the owner, and Jack Wesson Architects and staff member Christian Clothier.
Thank you very much, Mark. So I start each of the meetings with the standards for review for HARC. So I'm just putting them up here. You all are very familiar with them, but after hearing evidence and considering the comments of all persons interested in a matter, the reviewing body shall render a decision accompanied by any necessary findings and have them entered into its minutes. In its findings, the reviewing body should report the facts found in its conclusions and whether the development application is approved with conditions, recommended for approval by another body, tabled or continued pending receipt of additional information, or denied. And the reviewing bodies shall not be required to take final action on a development application during the same meeting at which evidence or testimony from interested persons has been taken, and may continue the matter. So that's just the high level for all of these projects. So we are looking at 457 West Pacific, as Mark stated. I will not review these items again. The only thing I will mention in addition is that this is in the residential commercial treatment area. And we have 2 contributing structures on the property, a primary structure and a shed. We will talk about those further later. And this is located within the THLD. There are a number of additional rated structures in close proximity to this property as well. So you see it here. The site significance and context. 427 West Pacific is within the THLD. It's historically significant for its association with Telluride's residential development beginning in the early 1900s. And as I mentioned, both the primary structure and the shed are contributing. The house and shed were built between December 1899 and July 1904 per the Sanborn maps. The house is architecturally significant and has only had a very minor loss of integrity. The shed displays a high level of integrity, but it is in a deteriorated condition. And the gabled addition to the house's rear north elevation appears to date to a time frame between the 1960s and 1970s. It's a modest addition that's reasonably compatible with the house's original construction and minimally visible from this street. HARC members have reviewed a detailed staff memo on the project, and so I am just going to quickly walk through key aspects. So the project description, the applicant is requesting to restore and rehabilitate the contributing primary structure and shed, raise the contributing primary structure and shed, and also is proposing an addition and alterations to the contributing primary structure and shed. As you all know, the overall precepts of the design guidelines are to keep it simple, keep it in scale, respect historic resources, and make all new design compatible with the existing context. For this particular project, the following standards and guidelines apply: rehabilitation, residential, commercial, alley, shed, and secondary structures, and exterior and site lighting. So the applicant has complied with a number of the guidelines and standards which apply to this project. So I am not going to go through those that they have already addressed. I am merely going to highlight for those present, those that need either further revisions to become compliant and or where additional information is needed to make a determination on compliance with the design guidelines and standards. So I'm starting with the rehabilitation standards, number 10, doors. One aspect of that guideline is to avoid changing the position of historic doors and avoid adding additional doors or removing existing doors on facades that are visible from the street. And so a new door is proposed to be added to the west elevation of the contributing structure, the contributing primary structure. Although not on the front facade, this will still be visible to pedestrians walking past the property. A door should not be added in this location. That's a staff recommendation, and you can see that here. Rehabilitation standard number 19, new alterations and additions. The HARC board knows the provisions of RE 19. And so I will just raise that the proposed new addition is not visually subordinate to the contributing primary structure when viewed from West Pacific Avenue. It's not compatible in size and scale with the existing historic structures on the site. And especially the portion of the new addition that projects beyond the westerly wall plane of the contributing primary structure, combined with the entire addition being significantly taller than the primary historic residence, detracts from the historic character and integrity of the site. And so staff would recommend to comply with this design guideline, a reduction in the width of the addition from the west, a reduction in height, and setting the addition further back on the lot are necessary. And HARC can consider whether some combination of those options are ones that you feel make this compliant. And so you can see this is one view. And I'm particularly looking at the west, but I would say the whole addition is very dominant, but especially from the west. So you can see that here. And again, I'll go quickly and then I can answer questions after the applicant presents. So I'm also flagging very briefly in this presentation and more detail in the staff memo, items that just need additional information in order to make a determination. So the gray slides here are those really quickly touching on RE number 2, landscaping and site features. They have submitted a landscape plan, but without a lot of detail. And really, we need additional information to ensure consistency with the design guidelines, especially given that there are 2 contributing structures on the property. In addition, just additional information in order to address historic features and materials, historic elements, missing building components, windows, and wooden siding. We need some additional information. We do have in sheets A1, 9, 10, and 11 high-level annotations on the proposed rehabilitation, repairs, replacement, but we really need a detailed rehabilitation plan in order to be able to approve the project. This should include technical procedures to be adhered to, established procedures for determining the need for replacement only for elements beyond repair, documentation standards, etc. So currently there's a lot of flexibility, as you saw outlined in the historic structures repair sheets. So concrete guidelines should be established to ensure that the integrity of the contributing primary structure and contributing shed are preserved and that replacement is minimized to the greatest extent possible. I will say that I believe that's the applicant's intention. I just want to make sure that we have in writing what that detailed plan is, but they certainly are very focused on that rehabilitation. But I need to see the specifics in order to say we should allow what's being done to move forward. Fences and walls. You all know the RC number 19. I've moved on to residential and commercial standards. This pertains to the fence. Applicants must demonstrate that the proposed section of 6-foot privacy fence along the easterly property boundary is either transparent or otherwise it should be reduced to 5 feet in height of solid wood planks with a transparent additional foot in height above. So you can see it's just a section of fence, but it doesn't specify transparency. Moving on to RC number 21, utilities. Minimizing visual impact is clearly a priority, and the recommendation, if possible, is to locate utilities in the rear of a property when feasible and to screen them. So in this case, a recommendation to screen the new gas meter and new electric meter on the contributing shed to minimize their visual impact. And appreciate it if the applicant would see if it's possible for the utility company to shift the meter locations to the south side of the shed, which would then not be visible from the alley. This would be the strong preference. If that isn't possible, then certainly screening, and you can see the existing and the proposed there. Moving on to mass and scale, which we all feel should be number 1, but I'm doing these in order. You all know the guidelines. So Staff finds that the proposed new addition is not visually subordinate to the historic building. It changes the perceived mass and scale of that historic residence. You've heard me say this before when I was speaking to the previous guidelines in the restoration section. It's conspicuous from Pacific Ave, especially the portion that projects out to the west of the historic structure. And the height of the addition also increases the perceived massing and makes the addition feel dominant. And then I'm also suggesting removal of a window on the south elevation because it really does add to the perceived massing and detracts from the contributing primary structure. So I'll show you that visually here. Hang on one moment. And I'm kind of going through two standards, so I'll go back to the one I just flipped through as well. But so let me do them both at once, then I can show you some visuals. So RE number 31 is windows. You all know those standards. And in addition to the mass and scale, as we look at the windows, which are character defining features, the placement and grouping should be similar to what's seen historically. And in this case, the amount of glazing on the north facade is extensive and should be reduced. They're visible from behind the contributing shed. The windows on the second and third levels are square, so we're also looking for more verticality. And they could maintain the proposed window height as long as they're significantly reducing the glazing to reduce the light spill. And again, I go back to the window that I'm also recommending for removal on the south facade. So we can look at those. Here we are on the north elevations, and you can see on the left the existing, obviously the historic structure with the addition. But then we're seeing the proposed new elevation. The shed will be in front of this, so you won't see all of this. So I'll show you some additional images. And then I'm just pointing an arrow to the window I would suggest is inappropriate and really it adds to that dominance of the addition that is proposed. And so suggestion to remove that. Also in the residential commercial standards, additional information required. Plant materials, I've already said this, previous standard. And again, just looking for a more detailed landscape plan. And I added here that the replacement trees that are proposed, I just want to ensure that they're not going to block views of the front facade of the historic primary structure as they mature. So there's a balance here. There's some trees being removed, just the location as trees are replanted, making sure that over time we're not losing that visibility. And I can work with the applicants on that. Building materials, I just want more clarification on one of those specs for roofing, just to make sure that they are compliant. It wasn't clear. Visually, it appears potentially compliant, but I just want to be 100% certain, given that it's not clear in the list. Here, alley character, I'm almost there, guys. You know what the standards are. We're saying limit the windows on alley elevations to maintain the utilitarian nature of the alley. So in this case, the east facade of the shed is proposed to have 5 windows. You can see those below and above is the existing, including one large square window that does feel out of proportion and not in character with the shed. I see that the applicant is, trying to be consistent with existing openings to the extent possible, but that one window at least may not be, should be something we request to be replaced with something smaller and with more verticality. And then on the side of the shed on the north elevation here, they also here, since this is a contributing shed, the preference would be not to add a window along the alley facing north facade, unless it can be demonstrated that this was a historic opening. Or, I think that would be, this is not something we would prefer unless the applicant can demonstrate that. So now I'm on the exterior and site lighting standard, AS2 number 2, interior lighting. So we're looking for that minimization of visual impact of light spill from a building and large areas of glass and exterior walls, that allow for that spill. We need to be attentive to. And in this case, again, the shed is blocking to a limited extent a bit of this, but you have a lot of visibility from the alley towards the north facade. And so recommendation to reduce the amount of glazing to address this guideline. Overall, as you all know, there will be Public Works, Planning and Building staff reviews. They've already reviewed to a certain extent the project, but after HARC approval, if it were to be approved, this project goes through another round of extensive review prior to building permit issuance. And any elements that fall into that timeline should not impede the HARC review process. Staff will ensure that these items are addressed at the appropriate time, including things like drainage, site runoff, retention and filtration capacity on site based on final plans, landscaping, irrigation, a detailed utilities plan, on-site snow storage, all based on final plans. So I just always put that out there. And so staff findings and recommendations. The applicant proposes to rehabilitate a contributing primary structure and a contributing shed. So the project is in compliance with many of the town of Telluride design guidelines and standards. And again, I just focused on those that need to come into compliance. In some cases, additional information is requested in order to determine and ensure compliance. And there are a number of conditions listed in the staff memo that would need to be addressed to come into full compliance relative to mass and scale, particularly to ensure that the addition is subordinate to the primary contributing structure. So in your packets, I outlined a detailed motion. I won't go through each of those elements here, but I'm happy to bring these slides back up as you talk through them later, if that's helpful for reference. Otherwise, you do have your one sheet reference copy there, but I'm proposing to continue to the September 17, 2025 HARC meeting with the conditions listed. And the last condition is merely to add to the rehabilitation plan standard language to ensure that we as staff are able to keep an eye on the project as it moves forward. So you really have 10 conditions. The 11th is just pertaining to the rehabilitation plan. Thank you very much. Happy to answer questions after the applicant presents or whenever you would like.
I have a question that
Certainly.
I think covered all the relevant design guidelines, but I have a land use code question.
Sure.
On page 2 of the packet, where it shows 2,106 square foot of site coverage.
Mhm.
And this is the primary residence. Does this include the 6-foot connector, or if it's less than 6 foot, it doesn't count, but does it include the square footage of the connector?
It should, and I will double check that
Did you calculate this?
we did as staff, and I believe it does, but I don't want to, I will double check it if that's something you're
Okay,
concerned.
let me ask a bigger question.
Sure.
I got back yesterday and I didn't have time to
Oh,
go back to
certainly.
land use code, but aren't primary structures at 45% in this district of site coverage, not 50? Aren't they
Yes.
45?
I
Because
believe,
this says proposed 49.9 or 50%,
sure.
but I thought it was 45.
Well, I will double check that. Staff did review based on the land use code, but again, land use code is outside of the purview of HARC. I am happy to
Well,
look
it's not
that
supposed to
over.
get here.
Nope,
It's not
And-
compliant. So I
and
would
we-
ask both the staff,
sure.
is it 45%?
I believe so.
So this is non-compliant and this is wrong.
That's not right.
Okay, go ahead.
I need
Well,
to go back and look because I
well,
can't do that on the spot here.
I don't.
But
mind
it
when
will be land use compliant.
But-
If you're finding something that's in error, we will make sure that the applicant comes into
But the
compliance.
dilemma is Ally has stopped us before. I mean, of course, I'd like to go ahead with the hearing,
Sure.
but if it's
And I can go
55%
back-
and staff just concurred and this is 50, there's nothing to look up.
I just need to go back and take a careful look, but I'm happy to do that while the applicant presents, and I will be able to confirm that they're compliant subsequent, if that is okay with
Well, it
you.
is 45%.
Is that okay?
I know that, I know it's 45%. So what do we want to do?
So looking at,
Sorry?
Half is 50%, but that includes the secondary structure, so you're
Yes.
combining.
But when you have well, we can't have dialogue,
Yeah.
but to the
I
staff,
will,
you have a connector that's greater than 6 feet, then it counts on the first floor. And I think that's why I was looking, I might be wrong, that it was a primary structure and you can't exceed, as Darren said, 45%. So I don't know what to do. I mean, of course, I'd like to have the hearing and go ahead and give feedback to the applicant.
So the hearing can continue. So looking at section 5203A of the land use code, applications are only supposed to be forward if they're complete and if they comply with the requirements of the underlying zone district. However, if an application is sent up anyways for a hearing, and it can be under section 5203A4, the planning director can determine that even if it is not compliant with the land use code, if they're insubstantial non-compliance, they can still be agendized. So I leave it up to you as to whether you would like to discontinue this hearing or if we would like to continue it anyways, understanding that ultimately it will have to be land use code compliant.
Much work, including staff. And this, I'd like to, if you guys are okay, go ahead. But if this is, and maybe this will get clarified later. Because my understanding was primary structures, which the connector has to be included in, I believe, because it's greater, 6 feet or greater wide. And I know why that came to pass a couple of years ago, because everybody was doing these sneaky connectors and didn't want to count them. I was here. But we'll go ahead and deal with the design guidelines, which are well-written and comprehensive, and get some feedback, because it sounds like staff's recommending continuance anyway. So if that's
Yes.
okay with the board, let's just do it.
I would say if anything, it's going to reduce the mass and scale if it's out of compliance, so that. that
Well,
would-
it's gonna do exactly what your design guideline recommendation says, reduce the square footage. That's what it will do. But let's go through it in good faith and
And I will say that it's a maximum 50% for all structures combined. So I'm just double checking the math while the applicant presents to make sure
Okay,
it comes in.
but underground connector means you gotta count that and the shed. It's a trigger.
Understood. Thank you, Mark.
All right. So, okay, any other questions? If not, we'll hear from the applicant. Welcome. Go ahead, read your name, Jack, in the record.
My name is Jack Wesson, Jackson Architects. So I should speak to that point right away.
Yeah.
Because, obviously, if you look at this project, you realize that it's unique because 70% of it's all underground. We only added 30% of the new constructions above grade. Right. So this isn't like a typical little connector thing, right? We have the main house, right? Which above grade is, instead of 45%, the above grade portion of the house is only 36.7% of the site coverage. So it's almost 10% less than what it could be above grade. Right? And then the historic shed, 262 square feet, being historic, it only counts as 131 square feet, right? Now, as I said, this whole project is unique because we hardly built any of the density above ground. It's all below ground. So you can say, oh, it's all one big building if it's connected, but in reality is we're counting all of that square footage. This isn't residential. I'm counting all of that square footage as part of the site coverage, the 50% site coverage. So 13.3% of the site is just basement that extends out, right? 26.6% of the actual building footprint is below grade. 12.7% of the site, or 25.4% of the allowable site coverage, is two-story. So that's how little mass is being added to the building. All right.
Is the 2106 including the square footage of the shed and half of the connect, or excuse me, half the shed and the connector square footage? What is 2106? Or is that just the primary?
The 2106 is the entire shed, house, everything underground. And I don't know where you draw the line for stuff underground, because I'm not doing a little connector. The whole building moves under the shed, so to speak. So I'm not trying to build out the building above grade. I'm trying to, in fact, I don't think you've ever seen a project in accommodations 2 that was an addition to historic structure. It actually was more sensitive to the historic structure, because more of this building is actually below grade than any other project that's ever been brought before this board in a similar situation. It's unique that way.
So what percent is the primary structure, which has to include the connector of site coverage? Do you know that number?
50%.
So
Okay,
I
it's-
can read you the land use code if you'd
Okay,
like.
but if it's supposed to be 45%, that's the question. Well,
Well,
primary.
I don't know where the code, I don't know if it's, if you have that written in the code. I didn't find.
It was
that.
an interpretation letter, Jack, a couple of years ago, and
Yeah, I would never,
You
I
would,
mean, that staff didn't bring this to my attention.
I'm
I would
sure they
never
did.
find that.
they wouldn't. Kristen, go ahead.
Sure, I was just gonna read you the land use code, section 3209C12 for accommodations 1. So for the principal structure, site coverage is 40, maximum site coverage is 45%. For secondary and accessory structures, it's 15%. Just skimming through, and the site coverage of any rated THAS secondary structure shall be counted as half, provided HARC finds the development application maintains or improves the historic ratings of all historic structures on the lot, and upon condition that the applicant stabilizes, improves, and maintains such structures in good repair. And D, no lot or lots in this zone district shall have more than a total of 50% site coverage by all structures. So there are a number of factors that come in on the land use code side. And assuming that this project is improving the historic ratings of the historic structures, all historic structures of which there are 2, with the rehabilitation plan that they will be putting in place in order for this to be approved, and the applicant stabilizes, improves, and maintains such structures, then the site coverage for the rated any rated THAS secondary structure shall be counted as half. So that's how the land use code
Okay,
reads.
when you add all that up, does this exceed the primary structure site coverage of 45%?
We found no, but I will go back and do the math one more
Okay.
time just to make sure that that is the case. And I'm happy to do that. And if staff made an error, certainly we will correct that and
Okay.
we'll work with the applicant to address it. But I believe that we are
Okay.
beneath the
That's,
requirements.
well, go ahead, Jack, you have
I
the
just
floor.
want to reiterate that point. The primary structure site coverage itself is 33.4. The secondary structure, this is above grade site coverage, is 6.4, but it only counts at 3.2 if it's rehabilitated appropriately, right? So that's how we get to 36.7 total site coverage, whereas 50 is allowable. Okay, so we've
45% is a
well
lot.
with the secondary structure together, it's 50.
Oh, I see the aggregate.
Yeah.
So you think the aggregate's gonna trump the bad word?
Well, I have all this site coverage. Like I said, I have, there's more site coverage that's below grade than that's on the second story, for example.
Okay. Well, you have the floor, but they're gonna confirm
Okay.
this, but
So you can, but the point is that it's all about mass and scale on this.
Yeah.
I feel strongly that there hasn't been another project that had so little mass and scale added. It all got put underground. So I was really taken back when the whole mass and scale issue. Now I can go through and show you project after project after project that many of you even approved. None of them meet this above grade volume reduction that this project has undertaken.
okay, well, do you want to go through the 11 conditions, Jack? Would
I
you
would.
like to?
We can
But
just
but
jump-
did
we'll just
anybody else
jump-
have a
we'll-
question? Did anybody else have a question or a different understanding on the land use code? Because we got 3 architects on the board, so, okay. Well,
Well,
let's go ahead, Jack.
So I don't have,
Conditions.
number 1, number 2 is the one that I really, I think is inappropriate. The height, for example, the allowable height's 25 measured. This is 22 foot 8.5. But you got to remember that the addition is actually at the back of the lot that's higher, right? So if you actually take this addition, it has a measured height of its low to high point of 19.5. So it's just 3.5 feet higher than a secondary structure. And the footprint of that module is actually less than 15%. It would qualify as a secondary structure, right? And another important thing is this has a very large, relatively speaking, linking piece, which a lot of projects just ignore, and they just smash the masses together. So when you look at this building from the street, the intent is this not a big attachment to the building? You won't see the attachment. It looks like a separate building, right? That's the intent, the size, everything is meant that it's not an accretion onto that building, it's a separate building built behind it, right? And that's how those are historic remodels and additions are supposed to happen. When you have an addition that is, taller, for example. Now, this one is also, it's set back almost 60 feet from the street. So when they say to push it back farther, I don't think you're gonna find many many of these that are actually set back 60 feet. And this main module, it's only 21 feet deep. That's the only section out of this 112 feet that I'm really trying to enlarge. The rest of the lot is basically left alone. It's really this 21-foot section. So the area of impact of mass, like I said, you're not gonna find another project that's been submitted to this board that's less. And I have searched high and low, and I really believe that. The only exception would be my clients developed Brother Al's house across the street, and because it's a double lot, maybe it falls in the same category. But that was 20 years ago. All right, enough of the mass and scale. The door on the side, that's the only real concession that I'm looking for on this historic house. It's not on the front of the building. You're looking at this at an acute angle. If you get just in the right spot, you'll be able to see the door. It doesn't look abnormal, but the thing is, this house, it had a front door. And then it had that weird little short door on the one side. It had no other exterior doors. Just for the house to function, to take advantage of the patio next to the house, you'd either have to walk to the back of the house or walk out the front door and around to the patio. It's just, it's not that visible. It makes a huge difference to the functionality of this house. And to not build any mass in that whole side yard, I think that's, I don't think many developers would try to not do anything. So we really want the door. It's just functionally, it's really important. Replace the large window on the east facade of the contributing shed. You can see there's a piece of plywood on that elevation, about that size, but the whatever that opening was, it goes up to 5 feet. So I basically just took that opening, doubled it, and that's how I came up with that shape. Everything else, I tried to kind of mimic the window that was there already. That's the one where it's not a new window, but it was such a quirky shape. I tried to make it something that I felt that was fitting for a quirky shed that functioned properly on the inside. The meter locations are really going to be a problem because the building is subsurface between the two structures. These service lines, they need to come up on an exterior wall of the building that doesn't have basement extending beyond it. So that shed wall on the west side, I know it's visible from the alley, but it's really the only place where the gas company is going to allow us to put it. I just know. And then it's proximate to where the power is going to be. It just makes I know it's where they want them. So that's where I put them. And it's going to be very difficult to wrap them around the sides of the house because they need that space for egress. So really, I have to wrap it all the way around to where the meters are now. The electric meter you can see on the side of the west side of the historic house. So we're taking that away and moving it back. We're kind of trading the electric meter for the door, so to speak. There's the amount of fenestration. You guys can debate that. I understand that. The window on the south side, I can make that. That shouldn't be eliminated. You need to have window. There's hardly any glass on that south side of that addition. That's really the one piece of glass of any significance. On the north side of that addition, the second floor, I understand if you want to reduce the amount of glazing. I did the square windows or more square-ish, just to distinguish from the historic house, which is going to have more vertical windows. I did add one window, replace several quirky windows on the east elevation of the historic structure to give them more of a vertical orientation. One of those is larger and it kind of mimics an old patch in that wall that looked like it may have been a historic window, although I didn't match the precise patch location. But you might find that in the photographs. That's all I have. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And appreciate you driving all you could underground.
Yeah, I was gonna go and blow through a bunch of photographs and show you a bunch of exhibits.
Yeah.
But, you know, if anybody questions that the addition is inappropriately sized, I want to show you all these others that have been done, right, that we've approved.
Well, if you have one that shows multiple houses that go beyond, since it says you need to be, the guidelines extremely sensitive on a smaller contributing house.
Well, let's
They
go
go
ahead.
in width and
Yeah,
height.
I do. Let's go ahead and
But
there's,
please, 'cause
I
I-
took a bunch of photographs, which was a handful.
I think we're all gonna comment on that. I want to give you a chance to share.
Down, no. I don't know how well you can see that in blown up. So these are just down the street. You can just see the variation between the historic structures in the front and the additions in the back. So I want to go quickly through these marks and spin your finger fast. This one right here, this is an example one that was on a lot wider than the house. So they actually built the structure. It's higher, it's taller, it's as you can see on the side, it's about the same height, about 8 feet taller than the historic structure. So that's an example of the addition visible from the side.
And yours is 8 feet taller than the gable on the small historic cottage, right?
That's correct. That's correct. So this is about the same. Go ahead and scroll down. This one's not attached. That's just down the alley, same zoning, secondary structure. Gives us the idea of an improved secondary structure volume. On the upper one, lower one, just 2 houses away, it has the historic structure has a gable that's running east-west, which is actually kind of common on that street. There's a handful of them. So I didn't feel that having the east-west gable and this was, unordinary. And you can see the structure behind it. That's 14 feet taller behind it. But because of the way the one house is in front of it, you don't really see it unless you're just in the right spot. Go ahead to the next one, Mark. This is just an example of a couple, these are actually not on Pacific, but on Oak. And there's the historic house in the front with the new structures behind it and to the side. You can go to the next one, Mark. Those were approved right when I got on board with you, Mark. Okay, this is an example of an addition onto a historic structure that went the full width of the lot. So it came out the side on both sides of the historic structure. Didn't have a connecting link though. So it didn't define as well what was old and what was new, which is an important distinction. Because I could get rid of the link and increase that volume. Right, but I'm very sensitive to having this 2 standalone looking structures. Next one, Mark. You can see also the back is actually 3 stories tall. Here's another one. Sorry, go one more. There you go. All right. This is just across the alley. It's on Colorado. So you have the 1 story, and then you have the higher structure in the back, and this was where the lot falls off. So you actually have 3 stories visible from the back on the addition. So where I only have 1 2/3 story from the alley visible because the grade's coming up. Go to the next one there. All right, this is just an example of the addition on the side, on the right side to the historic house. Here they're about equal height, but there's no linking piece between them. There's one kind of roof line merges into the other. You may remember the comments, Mark, when we walked up with the guy from Denver.
That was I can tell you that gable was 3 feet lower than the main house, so subordinate meant subordinate.
Well, you can see on the other one, it looks about the same height, and they did add a dormer on the on the side of the historic structure as well. So there is precedent for adding windows on the sides. Here's the next one. This is an example. You can see the addition on the side of the house, and then you can see the addition behind relative to the house itself. So the addition is much larger in volume, right? Go to the next one. I don't want to race through these, but here again, this is the house in one-story house in the front with the addition in the back. That's 2 stories. You can see what it looks like in the back, the full 2-story structure. Next one. Here's where, we have a condition where it's not as steep, but where you have the historic house on the downhill side. It's more common that the unit in the back is much higher, right? So here you have the unit in the back. This is a full story higher than the main house. You see the length in the lower photograph. So that's all one house. This is a very comparable situation right here, although, like I said, the grades are a little bit more severe. Here's another example, 1 story in front. It's slight grade going uphill in the back. The addition is 2 story in the back. Upper one, you can see the 2-story structure, the 1-story historic houses in the front. That was just approved the last 4 years or so. And then the one below the historic house, the problem with that is that it has a linking piece to the historic part in front, but the part on the left behind doesn't distinguish itself from the historic. So you can't break apart what's new and old. So that's the problem with that. Although the massing is typical of having a 2-story addition. There's just a couple more here, but there's a very common number of examples. The one on the upper one, that's the 1-story off to the side. It's a 2-story addition.
It's your house.
That's my house. That's another example. And then you can see the one below it, just the amount of addition onto the historic house. That was a 1.5 story historic house, but the addition's taller and larger. So there's obviously a huge precedent for getting all of your zoning max allowable above grade on the back of these historic structures. And here's an example of one that's only half. We're only adding half what we could. So I hope that's appreciated, because I think it's really difficult for me to I don't know what else to do. I just make a 1-story addition. Like, for example, the FAR of this lot is only of above grade is only a 0.43. All right. If I had a historic residential lot, which is zone less, equally sized, that's an FAR of 0.56. So 20% larger house you could build on a historic residential. If this were, if I build out the whole thing, the FAR would probably be, well, not quite double what I have, but it could be a lot more. So, like I said, I feel very strongly, I'm just reiterating the part about there hasn't been a project with less mass added to one of these historic structures. And the location of the mass setback, it's set back from the alley 30 feet as well. It's not a full 2 stories from the alley. So I'll stop it there.
Okay. But the addition facade is 50, I think your argument is 50 feet off of the,
60.
sorry,
60.
60 feet off of the front property
Side.
line,
Yeah, the property.
sidewalk. Okay,
I have a couple of questions.
go ahead, Bob.
Just on the summary, it talks about a small scale repositioning and a minor scale repositioning. I looked at,
Precisely in plan, I think the repositioning is just to raise them slightly, like usually we raise them a foot, I'm only raising these 8 inches.
okay, because I looked at the survey and I looked at your drawings and all the numbers lined up, so that we're not
No, we're
repositioning
trying
it.
to keep them exactly, and we're trying to keep the shed with the quirky angle and everything.
Yeah.
We're not trying to straighten it, even though it makes the parking
got it.
better.
Got it.
So, yeah.
It's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it just didn't, it just showed up here on the summary and I didn't see it on the drawing, so it's okay. And the reason for raising it is probably because of the
Just
grade in the
because
back.
it, that was part of the flood zone, the grades of this, there's in the back of the house was in the dirt.
That's my questions.
The questions.
We got one question. What's the distance between the shed and the new addition?
A little over 6 feet
6 feet?
above grade. I think 6.5.
I measured it 6 plus or minus.
Anything else?
Let's see. I do have another question. It looks like you've got some stairs or some landscaping that's going to across the property line to the adjacent building.
Yeah, so the owner of the house next door it's a developer of this.
Okay.
So they see this as an extension of their house, right? So they want to communicate between the houses. Having that door is another reason, right? So they can communicate. So they have a huge extended home. So this is, and they're redoing the house next door. They're not tearing it down there. And they didn't want to blow this one out either. They were content to have a lot of yard
The house you're talking about is to the east or it's to the west?
to the west.
The big house there.
Yeah.
So this patio space, it's on A404 with the stairs. That's that link you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? Jack, I should have remembered that, but I didn't write it down. How many feet, this new door you were requesting on the west side, how many feet is that off the front of the house or off the sidewalk roughly?
The setback is 15.5 feet to the house from the sidewalk, and then it's another, I'm gonna say, 16 feet, 15 feet.
So 30 feet off the sidewalk? Way to move that. The question's gonna be as you,
Well, I have those windows right next to it, right?
yeah,
So I have to do kind of a big jump to move it farther. It extends beyond where the patio is now. I come in on some window wells. I was hoping to have it come in where the patio was, but it's not too close to the front, of course.
okay.
But I understand what you're saying. I
Go a
pushed
little-
it back as far as I thought it was practical, because
Okay.
I knew that was important.
But inconvenient if the board considered it, because the guidelines, it says avoid adding, additional
I-
doors. They're
Just
visible.
like, this is no.
It's about
like,
visible.
give me one door out of this house. It's not the
Okay.
one door.
Well, we'll discuss it. But it's 31 feet off the sidewalk. 16 plus 8.
I
Definitely.
plus or minus.
Close enough. Thank you. Any other questions? Not, we'll hear from the public. You'd like to come up, read your name, and if not electronically, boy, we don't have any public online today. I don't know what happened. None. I've never ever seen that in 10 years. Okay. Anybody in the room? Okay, well, thank you. And then we'll begin deliberations. As Kristen suggested, she'll reconfirm land use compliance, just to make sure. So we should focus on the guidelines. And there's 1 through 11. As Kristen said, 11 was kind of a administrative catch-all about historic renovations. So 1 through 11, or 1 through 11, do you agree? And are there any others? I think Kristen did a good job capturing the ones that were relevant.
Yeah, Mark, I can jump in. I think Kristen did an exceptional job with the write-up on this, and I'm 1 through 11, spot on
Okay,
board with it.
well, let's just go down the line.
Sure. Number 1's fine. Number 2, this all sort of hinges on the word subordinate. And I think I've been pretty consistent. I'm not in the camp that considers the word subordinate to be synonymous with lower. I think it's 60 feet back from the sidewalk, the addition. That makes it subordinate by its position. The one complaint I may have is that it seems to step up to the west. There's a break in that cross east-west ridge.
Well, I didn't want it to be 35 feet.
No, I understand,
No dialogue.
but Pacific rises in the other direction. And if that stepped up to the east as Pacific rises to the east, it would put more of that mass behind the historic east-west gable. It seems to me like maybe it wants to step up to the large building next to it, but I would not consider an adjacent building I wouldn't consider that. So for me, if it mirrored, I do appreciate the fact that it's 2.5 feet lower than the land use code maximum. I also appreciate that the lot itself steps up 6'9" from south to north, which is not insignificant. So I'm just so I guess this is a bit of a opening salvo. I'm not going to be as supportive of and I guess number 2 speaks to the width.
Yep.
Well, and to reduce the height. The one thing, I don't think that the window, which oriel, I guess is the term, I was thinking it's an upper level bay, but that I guess that isn't it. To me, it makes it all worse because it's projecting now. So I'd like to see that go away. And the fact that there's a dormer there, I mean, dormers can contribute to mass and scale, but if it were set within the roof as opposed to projecting from the roof, it might be fine. Yeah, reduction of glazing. Seems to be, we're consistent with that sort of guideline. 4, 5. Totally sympathetic with wanting to have a functional door to a patio space. I do think it's set back probably as far as it can be practically, unless it were on the north side of those double windows, but then it doesn't step out to the deck. So that one for me is a little, how hardline do we want to be, 6, I support. I mean, that large square window seems to be out of place, especially being right on the alley corner like it is, as close to the alley as is. And the rest are pretty boilerplate. I will tell you, Black Hills Energy will not allow you to put that gas meter any further back than 4 feet from the building corner. They just won't. That's a published standard. And
But they'll allow to screen it.
They'll allow you to screen it and they will require a snow protection roof over it, but it's not going any further than 4 feet from the corner. So the electrical meter is a different story, and Black Hills Energy is getting more and more restrictive, by the month. So, that's where I'm at with the conditions.
Hey, Matt.
So I agree with all the conditions that Kristen outlined. I would say on a condition number 5 is where the dialogue has moved towards if that door could move, proposed new door as far north as possible, then I think I would be okay with it. I'm not okay with it in its location now. And then to elaborate on the mass and scale, sort of a little bit towards what Stacy was saying, it's primarily the upper level, the west side that bothers me. I think the dormer should go away. I think that ridge should be lowered, ideally stepped down to 1 story on that side. I'm wondering, barring further reductions from site coverage, would we consider reducing the 6-foot setback to the accessory to allow that the entirety of the addition to get farther away, farther to the north from the primary structure.
I have a comment on that.
I think being more centered in the lot is more appropriate. Because the further it gets to the alley, the more it impacts the alley.
Said he was trying to save the funky angle.
But I don't think you're.
But he's not moving it.
Any of the historic from the alley other than the shed. So I'm primarily concerned of what the Pacific view is.
Okay.
And getting the sense that the addition is completely a separate thing from the historic and as far away as it possibly can be. So I don't know if we go down to 5 feet instead of 6 feet. That's just a thought, but overall, I agree with all of Kristen's conditions.
I looked at that, the shed and the house relationship, and it went from 15 feet approximately down to 6 feet something. And I don't think it should be any closer to the shed. And I was thinking that maybe you increase the size of the connector and reduce the size of the addition. But when you think about how far back it is, I think if it was simpler, maybe just a single roof, there's several different roof pitches on that addition. Make it simple, make the window simple on the face to Pacific. One of the houses that you showed on Colorado, the addition steps down the back, and I worked on that one when I was with town, and we used the diagram where you have somebody standing on the opposite sidewalk and you hit the ridge of the front house and you don't see the back of it. I think with this distance we're talking about, you probably standing straight on, you wouldn't see the top of that addition. Maybe it would, maybe it might be something that we have them take a look at, or do that diagram for our purposes. Yeah, simplify the roof plan. I don't think pushing it back is correct. And I think that everything else we talked about, keep the meter where it is, but screen it would be fine. And I don't think we don't want to move the shed. We don't want to move anything else. So I think if that addition is simple, perhaps it moves a little bit less to the west, maybe another couple feet over. So it's not that big thing you see. Because it is going to be visible. I walk that street every day and I know it will be visible. But I think that I'm not sure there's really a need to reduce the height of it at this point. But maybe we can see that diagram and see what it does. Okay, that makes sense.
I think those are good points and I would agree with you.
Okay. I think I'll weigh in, but I think we're gonna want to continue and see this again because of the mass and scale issues and I certainly sympathy has nothing to do with it, but on the guideline about the new door, I agree with some of the comments that if we could see how far north you could move it.
I have a way to write that if you want it.
Huh?
The idea, I would say, eliminate or move further north the proposed addition of a new door on this side.
So I could consider that contrary to the memo with your language. Sounds like we're setting you up to make the motion.
Uh-oh.
So pay attention. Okay. And I didn't know this number 4, maybe I missed it while I was making notes and, allow them to remove it and bring it back versus panelizing it. I mean, they need to move it for foundation work. We do all that all the time and bring it back. Is that?
And she's talking about they're gonna take it apart, store it, and then put it back the way it was. Not moving it as a one piece.
Oh, well,
Our preference for a contributing shed would be to keep it intact,
Yeah.
unless there's some structural reason why you can't move it to a different location and then return it once the foundation is in place. So I just wanted to
Okay.
raise that.
so the key word was just keep it
Mhm.
intact. Okay.
Mhm.
So I agree with that, the glazing. I think I'm just gonna, and it's screening the meter. I think I'm just gonna weigh on the mass and scale. First of all, I'm sympathetic that when it's 60 foot back, subordinate does not necessarily mean equal to or lower than the front gable. Okay.
Mhm.
It's somewhere between that and the 8 feet higher that I think it would consider, but I don't know. I'd have to see it to, what's that?
Well, that's from the street. You can see that the house in front, the roof is much taller than the unit in the back. So unless you're looking right down that one slot, you won't see the addition.
Okay, well, and I know we're not supposed to have dialogue, but I appreciate you making the point. Okay, you can just point, okay. But no, I still would like to see, look, I'm not asking for it to be down, from 8 feet higher to only 2 foot higher. But I believe that this number 2, in concert with what Kristen observed, should be reduce the width and or simplify the addition from the west, because maybe there's some combination there. We can take a straw poll on that in a minute before we have a motion. And reduce the additional height, and we're not gonna say how much. And I think I could get to compliance because it's 60 feet back, but as if we said simplify with this west addition here, I mean, my notes were, I just drew an X through it, but I think if it was simplified and still shortened, so it wasn't, is that 10 feet outside the boundary of that small house? I mean, I recognized 2 of about the 8 that were on, I know most of those houses and I built some of them. About 2 or 3 of the 8 maybe were out of bounds, in my opinion, and past mistakes, shouldn't be an excuse for trying to get it. This is a full contributing house, a sensitive area. So my recommendation on number 2, and we'll just take a straw poll. Would the board concur if we said reduce the width
The addition.
and simplify, I'm not gonna say and simplify the addition from the west, and then reduce the height as Kristen wrote, but not say how much. And I realize, Stacy, I think, and I don't even need to take a straw poll, you were okay the way it was because it's 60 feet back. I just like to visually see an attempt and then we could clearly make a decision. I don't want to fire from the hip here. Because you made a lot of effort to put things in the ground. So are we okay with that as a possible number 2 with a slight, reduce the width and simplify the addition and the rest as written?
No,
Let's talk about the setting addition further back.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I suggested. Bob had good commentary. I think that's probably not a good idea unless it just got
Yeah.
narrower.
if I could say, I would say reduce the width of the addition, reduce the width and simplify the addition from the west, reduce the addition height, and simplify the roof form so that the addition is subordinate to the contributing primary structure, consistent with blah, 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 blah. I added a couple more references,
Good with that?
RC number 22I and number
Okay.
7 intro A1.
Bob, since you're making this motion, are you okay with number? You've talked yourself into
I
it.
guess so.
On number 5, are you okay with, I think it was your words, relocate the proposed new door?
I said eliminate or move further north the
Okay.
proposed addition of the new door on the west
So we can
elevation.
see it and see how visible it looks? What else?
I want to restate your request for a view from across the street to be able to judge the height.
Okay.
I don't think we need to make it a condition. Just want to state it again so that.
Like, see it. And then are we okay with screening on number 9, the utilities?
Yes, I would just eliminate start with screen the new gas meter and new electric meter.
Anything else? And we'll continue to September, Kristen said 17th.
I have one question on number 1. Just, it may just be wording here, but contributing, where does it go? Sure, the integrity of the contributing primary structure and contributing shed are preserved and that replacement is minimized to the greatest extent possible. I don't know what that means.
Material replacement, I believe.
Yes, so let me just go back to how they stated it on their plans and why it
Okay.
was not as clear as I'd like it to be. It'll take me a second to get there, but there are statements such as existing painted wood window to be repaired or match exist.
Mhm.
And to me, we want to make sure that we're not approving match exist. We want it to be repaired
Okay,
And then only if
and that,
absolutely
your
necessary.
11 really covers that
And it,
for what needs to be done. They need to show us that
yes,
there was an opening there before, or and how big it is. And if the material is still valid, it's not so deteriorated. I mean, the shed's pretty rough, but I see.
it's very open-ended as stated. And if you approve it this way, it could be, not that the applicant is intending to do this, but it could be that there's a lot more replacement that isn't necessary.
Okay, I can leave it in then.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Are we okay? Ready? You got this.
Wow. Here we go. Now get close to my microphone.
Thank
I move to continue to the September 17th, 2025 HARC meeting, a small-scale addition to an existing building that will increase a structure's floor area by more than 25%, a small-scale repositioning we're not repositioning. Can I just eliminate that?
Why don't you just read again and don't read or tell her to delete the addition. Or
Where's that?
Is repositioning just moving it
They're
up?
talking about the height, and I don't think of that as repositioning. When somebody says reposition, I think they're moving it on the site, but
But is it technically still repositioning if we're changing the elevation?
not in my head, but that's,
Positions 3D.
yeah,
okay.
well,
I'll leave it.
we have raised houses
Yes,
2 feet on Colorado. So 8
Okay.
inches.
okay.
I mean,
I don't think that's the issue we're having. It's more of a semantics
Okay,
question.
I'll leave it. Let me start over again since I was halfway through it. I move to continue to the September 17th, 2025 HARC meeting, the small scale addition to an existing building, increase the structure's floor area by more than 25%, the small scale reposition of a designated THAS primary structure, the minor scale alteration of a rated structure, and the minor scale reposition and insubstantial alterations to a rated secondary structure located at 547 West Pacific, Lot 15, and the east half of Lot 16, Block 5, West Telluride, based on the findings in the staff memo dated July 16th, 2025, with the following conditions. Provide a more detailed,
you can say as written by.
oh. one is written, 2 revised to say, reduce the width and simplify the addition from the west, reduce the addition height, and simplify the roof form so that cross off, set the addition further back on the lot, so that the addition is subordinate to the contributing primary structure consistent with RE 19B1, B3, B4, C1, C4, RC number 22, intro A1 and A.4. I'd like to add to that RC number 22 I and 7 RC 7 intro A1.
Paul,
yeah.
Before you go on, you said to scratch the part of it that says and set the addition further back on the lot.
Leave and cross off, simplify the addition further on the lot, and in place of that, simplify the roof form.
Okay,
That makes sense?
yes.
So there's no back of the lot, yeah, okay.
Right. 3, 4 as written. 5, eliminate or move further north the proposed addition of a new door to the west elevation, the contributing primary structure consistent with RE 10B2. 6 is written, 7 is written, 8 is written, 9, delete, shift the meter location to the south side of the shed, not visible from the alley, if possible, and start with screen the new gas meter and electric meter on the contributing shed to minimize the visual impact consistent with RC 21A2. 10 is written, 11 is written. This motion is based on evidence and testimony provided at a public hearing held on July 16th with the notice of such hearing provided as required by the Telluride Land Use Code.
A friendly amendment. I think during the beginning of the motion, I think it's 457. I think you said 547.
Oh, I'm sorry, 457. Sorry. It's a new eye, so I can't see everything.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second it.
How do you vote?
Karen, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Matt, yes.
Mark, yes.
Bob, yes.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, all right, thank you. Good luck. Okay, our next public hearing item is the lot 7 and 8 Samsung.
Can I request a short break?
Me too.
Oh, okay. Yes, a 5-minute break, okay.
You can go for
the
it.
applicant- Come on up and set up.
I think they should study it.
Okay, well, I was trying to word it so that we wouldn't have to continue it.
Well, why don't we just go down to a 6-foot knee wall up there?
Well, what is it now? I'd rather say lower 1 foot if that's what it is.
I think there's mass and scale issues on a supporting structure. It needs to be continued.
I believe,
Not enough
I agree too.
documentation.
We've got particularly things like the materials. Right now, it's all the same. We need to see it, how she's gonna address those concerns.
Well, we're not to board and staff discussion. We're board discussion.
Okay, well,
Yeah, that's right.
but
We've jumped ahead.
tell me how much you could lower it, just so I have it before we lose you in the deliberations. We can't talk.
The 12 inches.
All right. Okay,
I do have a question.
go ahead.
From the drawings, the existing roof, although the roof line, the datum isn't quite at the ridge, but it's close. It's 23.8 and 7/8, so call that 23.9. And the proposed is 26.6. So that's roughly 2 foot, a 2'10" increase. Based on what I'm looking at.
Right, and so currently the upper level doesn't work at all without the dormers.
I'm just
Yeah.
clarifying.
Okay. Any other questions? Public comment? Public must be on vacation. I don't see anybody in electronically.
They're all on YouTube, Mark. It's okay.
All right, so deliberations 1 through 9 and 10 has been suggested to turn in a historic preservation plan, Matt said. And the only additional one, which I don't know if it's in number 1, because that was step back, which Bob had an idea about the roof, but I wanted to say step down a foot, which sounds like they could, and I don't think you would see it from across the street at 3.5 feet taller versus the 8 foot taller we just saw. So
I think we're asking him to step it down. She's gonna figure out how to make that work with the plan she's got. And
Yeah,
can't
but-
modify it.
and-
I don't think you need any more there. I don't, but
okay, step addition down, okay, yeah, and but that's if we specify a foot, are there other things on here that I can't review as staff that would prevent us from approving it tonight? I mean, change of materials, we know what that
Well,
looks like.
I'm gonna say the same thing I said at the last meeting, assuming that this is. Well, see, but here we go, the existing roof is 23.8 and 7/8. That's what's quoted here in the staff report as being compliant for height. But that's not what is being proposed. It's being proposed at 26.6 3/4. Wait. Well, you gotta do the math, right? So I just want to see a better comparison between what's existing.
Absolutely.
Well, first of all, what's historic,
Okay, I got it.
what's existing,
Okay,
and what's proposed. And
Okay.
right now, it's kind of, we're having to guess too much,
Okay.
is all I'm saying.
I think
I agree.
Christopher.
But I want to follow that up by saying, I want to, it feels like we're trying to repair an addition that we feel isn't compliant, but it's existing. And I don't want us to step across that
Yeah.
threshold.
Okay, so it looks like we're gonna have to continue it, and Kristen, I mean, I think this should be very quick the next time around. It's not very many items that, but then you had some things you've already complied with we haven't seen, so we can't go on that. So what date, Kristen? August, September?
To August.
What do you think, Darren?
Do we have any of these?
Usually, so my only concern, and this is why we continued the other one to September, is that you would have to be submitting your updates like literally in a week and a half for this to work.
10 days.
So if
It's
you
fine,
can,
we've done 'em most of
Okay.
them anyway.
if you can absolutely commit to that, what I don't want to see is staff having
Last-
to
last
review
minute.
this last minute, like days in advance. So if you can commit to the 10 days, then we can do August, but as long as the applicant is
Did we-
affirming that.
Let me ask you in August, do we have any of these big town projects coming next in August, or are they later?
I am not aware of anything coming before you in August at this point in time.
So this should be a quick one. I'd say, let's go to August, what is that?
20th, correct?
8:20.
That's what I have on my calendar.
And I mean, I think you've heard the comments and it sounds like they're all achievable, but
Yes, the
and what
20th.
other additional views did we want, Matt?
I would just like more information on the alley side and
Oh,
towards Darren's comments of stepping it back. I don't know if it needs to be stepped back more. There's not enough information to tell if you're compliant or not.
Yeah, and I second that exactly. That was the number 5. No, sorry. Number 3 was the one that, if we're gonna remove one at this point, that's the one I was looking at as well, but there's just not enough
give
information.
us an alley view. I mean, it looked good at the next building to the east was 12 foot further out and then this is back, but we need to see it. I guess.
So we're board discussion now, just to be clear.
Okay, sorry.
Sounds like we are.
Yeah, well,
Does Kristen have anything else?
any more
to say?
questions?
We had no public comment.
We did.
Can you elaborate on, the number 3? Is it the location of the garage?
What I compared it to was on your landscape and site plan was the sheds. I didn't see the other building, so it's just how far the addition comes out towards the alley, if that makes sense. And I was concerned about it changing the view as you're like looking down the alley.
And I feel like it's set far enough back.
Just show us an elevation
Okay.
view.
I think it's gonna need photos.
Or
of
yeah,
The view.
well, the trash can makes it, or the bin makes it tough, but okay. So now, public comment. Again, which I thought I said something, but I don't see any.
You did say that before.
I did say this,
Yep.
instant replay. Now we're in
We did,
deliberation.
but then we started asking questions again.
So we have, we have 1 through 9 plus 10 is developed and turned in a historic preservation plan. Are we agreed as written with 1 through 10?
I would say number 2, I would strike or and add and. I would want to see change in wall plane and siding details.
Well,
Yeah,
insofar as we're not asking them to repair or remedy an existing condition. In other words, the existing condition doesn't have suitable, sufficient differentiation from the historic, I think. But just because they're coming in with an application, which was originally for windows, doesn't mean we can ask them to repair an existing condition.
Yeah, but this has gone beyond just a window repair. This is they're now proposing a completely different addition on to back up a supporting structure. So I do think we can ask for this.
Okay.
I think we should.
I have a question though,
That is correct.
for the board to discuss. This section that we're keeping the lower level. We're demoing the upper level and rebuilding it almost identical to what was there before with a slight widening of it. I
a foot
think.
lower, well,
And well, that's the roof, but
Yeah.
Does it make sense to change the material for that second floor on top of the historic floor? Or make the change just when you get at the grid H3, the end of the historic building, and everything to the north is done differently?
Well, and that goes back to maybe one of my original requests was I'm not sure, is it, I want to assume the H means the end of the historic, but I don't know that, and it's not pointed out that way.
Well,
There's no historic plan.
true, but if you look at their,
Oh, I looked.
well, I guess the demo plan, to me, that's where the
clarify it on the drawings.
yeah.
Put a
Yeah.
note, something. And I think we're ready for a motion.
But you,
I think whatever was historic should be cited and detailed differently than the addition, whatever.
the
that
addition
ends
that's
up being.
on top of the historic, that little
I think
piece.
so, yeah. And I personally am not that concerned about the height. I'm really just concerned about the materiality and some change of form at that juncture.
Mhm.
I don't think she needs to do anything radical
Yeah.
because she is kind of replicating the existing forms. I think that's the concession
Mhm.
to me.
So separate or differentiate the material on the second floor only of the addition?
I think just as Darren has it written is.
Okay, as it's written.
Because after you go past that point, the all new part that they're rebuilding and adding on to
Yeah.
would be
Oh.
different.
Wall plane or material.
I'm sorry, I do think we should strike or and put and. I think it should be both.
Okay,
Right, is that the only change in 1 through 10?
I think number 10, I would say provide a detailed restoration and
Yeah.
rehabilitation.
Right. You ready to make the motion?
Sure. Anybody, any other discussion?
No.
And we said August 20th. I move to continue to the August 20th, 2025 HARC meeting, the small scale application at 557 West Colorado Avenue, based on the staff memo dated July 16th, 2025, with the following conditions. Number 1, as stated, and number 2, strike the word or, replace it with the word and. 3 through 9, as stated. A new number 10, provide a detailed restoration and rehabilitation plan. This motion is based on evidence and testimony provided at a public hearing held on July 16th, 2025, with a notice of such hearing provided as required by the Telluride Land Use Code.
you don't need to do that.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, let's vote.
Kieran, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Matt, yes.
Mark, yes?
Bob, yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you shortly, like 11 days.
Yeah.
Drawings, okay. The third project is lot 7 and 8, San Juan Village, primary large-scale multifamily project, continuation from May 21st meeting. Consideration and application for large-scale preliminary new construction outside the THLD that will contain more than 5,000 square foot of floor area per land use code 7023B2A1. Legal description, lot 7, San Juan Village, PUD, block 20, West Telluride. Accommodation to plat, book 1, page 20043, received 5196, the decks and the rest as written as the legal description. Address to be determined, the zone district is accommodations 2. The owner is the Langmaid Family Trust, lot 7, and the Laurel Diane Langmaid trustee of the Landgrave Laurel Trust, lot 8. Applicant, Berkowitz Design, and staff member, Kristen Collier.
Thank you, Mark. I am going to keep my presentation brief because this was continued from the May 21st meeting. I am going to have the applicant provide all the visuals so that they can walk you through how they're meeting the conditions. I'm going to go through the staff analysis piece, and then I'm happy to answer questions. But I will speed along and then tag in the applicant to provide more. As you all know, we had a work session on this project in December 2024. And then held a public hearing on May 21st. And it was continued with 7 conditions. So I'm going to quickly walk us through those. First, I just want to say that the applicant provided revised drawings on July 3rd and a resubmittal narrative dated the same. Subsequently, in further discussions between myself and the applicant, they moved forward in reducing the amount of glazing further from the initial packet. And so in your packet, it was before I had distributed the packet. So I was able to add in a new sheet, 4.5, that further reduces the amount of glazing on the north and south elevations, dated 7/11/25. And sheet 4.5 should be referenced when calculating reductions in glazing because they went much further than they had initially. And then they also subsequently provided the revised elevations that were included in the packet and posted online at the same time as the original packet. They have since gone through and updated their entire packet, but I could not, add that into what you saw and what was posted online at that date. So please reference those last 2 sheets for the glazing aspects. Site significance and context, just to remind HARC members, but also members of the public. Lots 7 and 8 are located on the north side of Colorado, to the west of the Hotel Telluride and the south of the middle high school playing fields. Both are relatively flat lots. They're currently vacant. Although they're outside of the Telluride Historic Landmark District, the lots are in a highly visible location at the gateway to the town as one begins to approach the historic district, and the pedestrian bike path runs directly adjacent to the south property lines. The lots are part of the San Juan Village PUD, They're located in the accommodations 2 zone district, which allows higher densities than the residential districts in town. The San Juan Village PUD places additional restrictions on the lots while also allowing for some additional flexibility. For example, the PUD specifies a minimum and maximum number of dwelling units per lot. So we went over the overall precepts of the design guidelines earlier. This project, the accommodations standards and guidelines apply. Project review to date, just really quickly, on December 18th, the applicant came for that HARC work session. On February 21st, the P&Z chair approved a minor subdivision per land use code section 6403B to adjust the interior lot line. This minor lot line adjustment provided the applicant with the lot configuration needed to design the project to be consistent with the design guidelines, while at the same time constructing at least the minimum required number of dwelling units per lot per the PUD. So you can look at the surveys, you can see that lot line adjustment, and that sort of followed from the work session discussion and made the project they're bringing forth possible and much more consistent. So on May 21, a HARC public hearing was held on the preliminary large-scale new construction. It was continued with 7 conditions. These are the 7 conditions. I'll go through them one by one quickly. The first one was provide further articulation in the wall planes and step back the 3rd levels to break up the massing, reduce the perceived mass, in particular for the building sited furthest west. So again, I will have the applicant show the visuals. I know they plan to walk you through their revisions, but the staff analysis is that the applicant made significant revisions to the westerly facade of the building sited furthest west to break up the massing. This facade, along with the southerly facade of the same building, are the first people will see when traveling from west to east at the gateway of town leading into the Telluride Historic Landmark District. In addition, as before, the project is divided into 3 modules to better reflect the traditional scale of construction. The scale of each of the modules is appropriate in the surrounding context. The buildings themselves step up from west to east. The center module has been reduced by 1.5 feet to provide a step up in between the west and east modules. So you'll see that there, and the PUD constrains the heights such that the lowest height is furthest west, and it steps up already, and they've just made some modifications to that. So the applicant has also employed porches, bays, and balconies to break up the front facades along Colorado and provide a step back from level 1 to level 2. So this goes further, just a little further, just on this one. The others are briefer. In addition, to address condition 1, while the applicant has taken steps to address that condition, the front facades have not been revised to step back at the 3rd levels to minimize the perceived mass as viewed from Colorado. So you can see that there's a step from level 1 to 2, but not from 2 to 3 on the front facades. That said, the cumulative revisions proposed could be found to make this aspect of the project substantially compliant with the design guidelines. So while they haven't met condition 1 in exact terms, they have reduced the perceived massing and achieved that through other approaches. So HARC can discuss whether they feel that further revisions are needed to address condition 1, or whether the revisions made reduce the perceived massing to an extent that the intent of this condition has been met. Staff would suggest that condition 1 has been met. And you can discuss further. Happy to answer questions. Condition 2 is to reduce the southeast dormers on the west building. The staff analysis is that the southeast dormers on the west building were moved to the west side of the building, so the width of the southerly dormer was reduced. The width of the northerly dormer has not changed. So the applicant went a bit further and actually changed the location of those dormers. So as the project has been revised, HARC should determine if any further changes should be made to the dormers now located to the west of the west building. Staff would suggest that the project is compliant with the design guidelines as revised, and condition 2 has been met. And again, comparing from the prior version to today, the massing has been broken up in a number of ways, and the initial approach is much improved to the extent that we could see proving. Condition 3, reduce the amount of brick with a combination of more refined materials such as wood or more finished masonry to reflect the traditional hierarchy of materials and reduce the massing. So to address this condition, the applicant replaced the brick initially proposed for the upper gables of the two easterly gable forms with siding. Vertical hardy board painted beige, better reflecting the hierarchy of materials and reducing the massing. The building to the west retained the brick for the upper gable. So that said, this building is lower in height than the other modules, and the westerly facade does now include more variety and materiality. The amount of brick has been reduced overall, and so one could find that condition 3 has been met, and that would be staff's recommendation there. And condition 4, reduce the amount of glazing on the north elevation and to a lesser extent on the south elevation. So again, when the applicant first brought forward their packet, they had made some reductions, but staff didn't feel that this was far enough. And so we met with the applicant and they reworked the amount of glazing. So the north elevation now has been reduced from the originally proposed 312 square feet to 214 square feet, a reduction of 31.4%. And the south elevation has been reduced in terms of amount of glazing from the originally proposed 327 square feet to 255, a reduction of 22%. And this will reduce light spill in the directions of the sports fields and Colorado Avenue. Staff would recommend or suggest that condition 4 has been met. Condition 5, add snow guards, brakes, or other devices to prevent snow and ice shedding onto adjacent properties in the bike pedestrian path. The applicant has added snow guards along the east and west edges of the roofs to prevent shedding on adjacent properties and onto pedestrian walkways. You can look to sheet 1.2 for a reference. Given the close proximity of the buildings to the pedestrian easement that runs along the north of the two lots, snow guards, brakes, or other devices should also be added to the roof segment that joins the center and east module along the north and south edges of the roof. It's a small section, but that might have been just something overlooked by the applicant. So condition 5 has been addressed to a certain extent. Staff suggests revising the condition to request the addition of snow guards, brakes, or other devices for the connector roof along the north and south edges. Condition 6, reduce the height of the middle module gable. And the height of the middle module gable has been reduced so that the ridge is now 1.5 feet lower than the easterly module. HARC can determine if that was sufficient. Staff finds that condition 6 suggests that condition 6 has been met. And then condition 7 is the final condition, substantially reduce the southwest corner of the western module to allow more setback on the south area near the bike path per AC and show AC 13, 16, and 16B. The applicant has substantially reduced the southwest corner of the western module to provide a greater setback from the bike path. I'm assuming the applicant is going to show that visually, so I didn't want to do it twice. But staff would suggest that condition 7 has been met. This is the general statement that yes, if this project were to be approved by HARC, there is building planning and public works further review prior to building permit issuance that will address a number of items that comes later in the process, including meeting all standards for buildings in a flood zone AO, permanent drainage of site runoff with a specified retention and filtration capacity on site based on final plans, etc. I won't go over this in detail. A lot of this is covered, or it's covered, all of this is covered more extensively in the staff memo that you've all reviewed thoroughly. And screening is also an item that will be further worked through. So staff findings and recommendations. This is at the gateway to the town of Telluride's historic district. For this reason, thoughtful development of these properties is especially important to ensure visual continuity from the west edge of town to the historic core. The revised submittal addresses the conditions from the May HARC meeting, bringing the project into substantial compliance with the design guidelines with one condition. And I provided you with a proposed motion. There were a few items HARC may certainly want to discuss further to see if you agree that they've come into compliance and you could add additional conditions. But the one flagged here is the snow guards for that one segment of roof. So I'll stop there. The applicant is going to share the visual piece, and then I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
I have maybe a few questions, and Kristen, if you don't know the answer to these, let's ask the applicant to
Okay, great.
comment. Is there a way to bring up the site plan sheet 101?
I'm sure.
Yeah, I can. I can't share.
Piper will give you access as soon as
He
you.
has access to share.
Perfect. Thank you.
I do right now.
So as you bring that up, there's the front setback is shown at 20 feet, parallel to the property line as it should be. And then on the west side of the property, it makes a jog so that it joins perpendicular with the new internal lot line. So I'm curious why that is shown that way and it's not 20 feet all the way across.
I'll need to see it as well to be able to respond. I also have these here.
And Matt, did you calculate when you go to the west, how far is it versus the 20 feet on the west end? Do you know? No, they can tell us.
Yeah, I don't know, but
Okay.
it's something I just picked up right before the meeting, so. So if you zoom in on the driveway there. You guys.
Control zoom. Sorry, just control scroll.
Yeah, just zoom on that a little more. Can use that. A little more.
Too much.
Okay. Can you?
And we're not allowed to have dialogue with the applicant yet. We're still with Kristen, so.
Can you restate your question just so I can hear
Sure.
this?
What I'm curious about is the front 20-foot setback line
Mhm,
is parallel with the property line. But
mhm.
at the western edge, essentially where it intersects the building and then takes a jog to become perpendicular with the new internal lot line. That setback line should continue across and be parallel the entire time until it intersects the western setback line.
20 feet back.
No, it was actually
Yeah.
in the plat, the replat, it was specified this way. And I forget the nuance. Am I allowed to talk yet or?
No, not really.
All right.
I'm
okay.
asking.
Well, it's a
no.
question.
Well, we're with, on Kristen, are we gonna
Oh, right,
applicant
right.
or where we wanna be? Okay, might we save this one for the applicant and leave it on the screen?
Let me go back to the PUD as well.
What other question?
I think I think it's best if I ask the applicant. So we'll go to that. I have a question on site coverage on lot 8A, and I have a question if there's a basement under 7A, but we can,
Well,
I don't have any more questions.
And I noted the same thing on page 2 of 5 of the memo about the maximum site coverage for lot 7. I didn't pick up lot 8, so I think since it's a land use code issue, again, we should probably ask Kristen.
So what are your questions?
I'm just, so I looked at the site coverage for lot 8A and the basement is above grade. It's not completely buried. So all of that basement should be counted as site coverage. And I calculated as about 40 square feet over the allowable. For lot 7A, I can't tell if there's a basement or a crawl space. So if there's a basement, it's also over its site coverage allowance. If it's a crawl space, I think it's okay.
Sheet 3.0, I thought interpreted as a basement. Is 3.0 a basement? Under 7A, under proposed lot 7? Is that a basement or a crawl space in lot 7?
It's a basement. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's a basement. Therefore, I calculate the site coverage is 1,800 square foot, which is not compliant with the 50%.
So staff did do these calculations and found it to be compliant, but we will review and ensure compliance.
But I think what you did is you I can see your calculations, 1,225, or if you agreed with the applicant, that's the first floor. But you have to take it from the basement, which is 1,800 square feet, so it is not within the 50% site coverage. It is not.
So I counted the basement as 1,444 square feet. So it's less than yours. It's still over the max.
Yeah.
So staff will go back and review that more thoroughly, and work with the applicant should there be any land use code compliance issues. We will go back and look through that.
Okay, we'll move on to the design guidelines unless there's other questions for Kristen. Would staff be able to respond on these two land use code issues tomorrow to the board?
We certainly will, and we are, yes, absolutely.
Tomorrow. All right, thank you.
I can't get this
Okay.
to keep coming down.
So we'll turn over to the applicant and Ron, if you go ahead and read your name in the record and then we'll
Yeah,
give your presentation.
yeah, Ron Berkovitz Design. And I'm here with, from my team, Andy, and then the builder, Joe Lynch, and the client and owner, Dan Langmaid, here today. So, and again, this is the, we had a work session back in December. We had a hearing in May. And so I feel like we keep kind of getting issues resolved, identified and resolved. But in addition to that, I think that what I'm seeing is that the building's getting better, that the overall design is getting better. And I hope the board recognizes that too, that, you know, that doesn't always happen with hard process, that sometimes it gets worse, but I feel like the more we work on it and with these changes, that it has actually gotten better. So I just wanted to mention my opinion on that. So let's see. I'm just going to go through the presentation here.
Ron, could you start with where we left off with commenting on Matt's question about the 20-foot setback from the property line, and now that we can speak?
Yeah, I think that's best shown.
Because it has everything to do with this design.
Yeah, the property was replatted in January, and in that replat, the setback was specified as drawn, and we have complied with that. So there was
Probably have that replat included then.
And kind of what happened was that as the lot shifted, you were previously allowed to build all the way back to that, you know, horizontal line. And then as you shifted, instead of losing that amount of buildable land, it stayed with the buildable land stayed with the location there. Let me just.
But regarding that, according to Kristen's report here, that west setback is at 5 feet and the requirement is 10 feet. That's not waived by a PUD.
Oh, okay. I thought.
I'm talking about lot 8A was my
He's actually
question.
talking about, see, this is the previous configuration. And if I can draw a line here. We're talking about this zone in here that was previously a buildable area. So instead of that area going all the way back to this point, it was approved as something like this here. So we actually lost this buildable area of it. Does that make sense, or?
I think the concept makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just curious why you have a jog in there, and if that was a conscious sort of.
Yeah, it was conscious as a result of not wanting to lose this buildable area here that had already been given to us, you know, with the initial plat of the land.
Okay, then on the building lot 7, the west setback, as Kristen noted, has 5 feet and the requirement's 10 feet. That wasn't waived by a PUD, was it?
No, it was not. It's as approved by HARC. Yeah, it can be reduced to 5 feet as approved.
Well,
by
it could
HARC.
be, or it could not be.
Yeah, it could be. That's true.
or it could
Yeah.
not be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, well, we'll get to that discussion.
That's correct. It's subject to HARC approval and it does state that. So
Okay, we'll go ahead with the conditions review from the last meeting then and share with us how you believe you met them.
All right. Let's see, the first one, the front wall plane setback, and it's actually, if you look at the, oops. Okay, so the last time the discussion kind of centered relative to the setback on the center module here that I'm identifying. And you can, if you look at the the previous version here, and then the updated, we pushed back that center form. The on the easterly module, we added a porch which breaks up the verticality of that plane. So no porch on this version here, and then porch on this version.
By the way, the guidelines do, as we noted last time, require a change in wall plane. Balconies and roofs by themselves, I know this because it was fresh in our mind, we rewrote these guidelines, do not suffice on that middle building.
So that, I mean, the easterly one was not identified in the last meeting as a massing issue. There was no discussion on that. There was only just a condition on that. So, I mean, that's subject to discussion. And then really the westerly module, as you can see here in the previous, in the previous version, the issue was that it was a strong two-story facade all the way up at this corner here. This whole facade has been shifted to the east. And then there's a setback of the plane of the westerly element here. And then keep in mind that there's also a major setback in the form back here too. So, and then just in defense of the, you know, you're talking about the guideline, but the, we're looking at strong forms, they're brick forms. You know, I don't think a brick form should be broken up into little chunks that needs to express its strength as a whole. So we can use things like porches and overall building setback to achieve that, and bay windows, and you know, so that would be my argument, as well as the fact that there's a substantial number of historic buildings in town that do have a strong two-story, sometimes 2.5-story verticality, single plane in the front. Let's move on to the dormer reduction on the building. That one's pretty cut and dry. We had two dormers before that were wider, and one of them, then as we repeated that same element with the redesign of the west building, the dormer became shorter. Reduction of the amount of brick. And I've got kind of a before and after slide here. You know, that's a lot of brick there. And then here it's been softened and substantially reduced. Okay, the amount of glazing that we talked about. And again, I think it reduced around 30% or 32% in the on the north side. The bigger issue on the north side was the large sliding glass doors were replaced by normal French doors. Then On the south side, it was just kind of incrementally reduced with multiple elements. Section 5 snow guards. And, you know, we supplied snow guards on the sides. There is one little area here on the north side that does require a little bit more attention. Let's see, I also wanted to bring to your attention, we did an exhibit here. Here's the site. And this shows the main trees that are in front of the building as they exist right now. And then you can see the buildings in this exhibit here without any trees. And then we have simulated what happens when you show the trees that are to be kept on the front there. So A, B, C. And I guess the other thing I wanted to show this exhibit showing kind of side by side the southwest corner as previously designed, where it comes up as a hard rectangular intense corner on the far south. And then on this side, it's softened, it's all moved, the mass has been moved, shifted over to the east side of the lot. Here it shows with highlighted lines how much it shifted. And then we actually staked out the corner, and you can see the final location in yellow tape shown there. Finally, these are just some additional views as seen from the entry to town, and you can see the buildings without the trees, and then again the trees added, and there's a substantial buffer that we've been able to create in this section between the bike trail and the path that leads up to the entry of the far west building. So that's pretty much my presentation. I'm glad to answer any further questions.
Okay.
The only other thing I wanted to mention is, there is I don't think this is usually, something we discuss much, but there is a degree of urgency on this project in terms of the adjacency of the school property and trying to get our construction done in a logistical manner relative to the school year coming up. So there is an issue there.
You mean finish it this summer before school starts?
Exactly.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ron.
Okay, you're welcome.
Questions?
I have a question. So related to the site coverage, Ron, can you bring up your site coverage diagram, or can you describe? It doesn't look like you're including the basement. So you could just either answer that or show us what you're counting.
On
Yeah,
lot
let me
7?
just clarify that the first floor is what was used to count site coverage. And then the basement actually was pushed out under porch areas that normally don't count for site coverage. And I think that's the problem, that those areas of the basement encroach under the porch areas that don't count.
Is there no basement except under porches and?
See, yeah, as you can see here, there's a basement that was pushed out underneath a porch. So this is a basement, and it was pushed out under the porch. So if that counts toward site coverage, then that does need to be adjusted.
Does that exceed 10% of Floria, the 10% basement bonus?
I don't think there's not site coverage increase in this zone.
No. So because that basement is not completely below grade because it's visible, it counts all of it.
Yeah,
Well,
out of sight,
we don't have to debate that here. 'cause it's
out
not
of sight was out of
important,
mind.
But let's make sure it's,
Okay,
Right, so what you're saying is because it actually pops out in these little corners
Yeah.
here.
Correct.
Yeah, that.
yeah, when this
Fit
passed
that
8 years
in.
ago, out of sight was out of mind and it didn't count, but inside it
Right.
does. Okay. Other questions?
Let me see. if I've got any more. And you did say that under lot 7A, that is a basement, correct?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
all
Yeah.
right, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Okay, thank you. We'll hear from the public. Whoever would like to come up first, read your name into the mic, and we ask you to keep your comments 3 minutes or less. Please come on up. Or if you're out there electronically, if you'd like to raise your hand and comment. I see one public. Can electronically raise your hand? Andy? Okay. I guess not. So thank you. Appreciate your presentation and we'll go ahead and start deliberations. Again, subject to the findings and confirmation of the land code. We had the old conditions and Kristen did invite us to reinvestigate number 1, mass and scale. But 1 through 7, if you want to start out, whether you think it's compliant, this stage or not. And we also need to comment on the big question of the 10-foot setback on lot 7 requirement, whether we want to allow them to reduce it to 5. And
I wasn't here for the May meeting. Was that discussed at the
Yeah.
May meeting about the 5 foot?
we had discussion, there's no determination.
I think what we chatted about was, I think the majority of the board felt that the southwestern side was too close to the bike path and too close to the road.
That corner?
And so if it was significantly pushed up, there could be a concession to allow northwestern side to bleed over and just make it a 5-foot setback at that location.
So since I wasn't there, has this been, that corner been pushed back enough or?
you'll have to ask each one of us.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
But this is the entry. We have to get this one right.
I'll start unless Kieran, you want to. I think the southwest corner is dramatically improved, substantially improved from the previous. I spent a lot of time, and I do appreciate the fact that this month's packet is 100 pages, not 360 pages. But I did spend a lot of time flipping back and forth between the May packet and the June packet, which I find easier anyway. It's a significant change at this corner. That's my opinion, but if that is true, which I believe it is, then the concession for the 5-foot setback follows. So I'm okay with both of those happening in concert.
Okay, what about the rest of 127 while you're on it?
Since I'm talking, I will quickly scroll back up to the conditions. Oh, wait, no, I have to scroll down to the previous conditions. Provide further articulation of the wall planes. I think Mark will be the one we spend probably the most of our time on besides 7, the corner. But I think the middle module taken as a whole, the bay, for lack of a better term, is significant enough that it establishes its own plane. There then is a step back to what's essentially the deck railing, and then a step back to the 3rd level. I think there's 3 steps in plane there.
What about the east building though? The east module? There's no change of wall plane.
I agree, but look what's next to it. The porch roof. I mean, I know how adamant we've been that we want to see that step in wall plane from 1st to 2nd. But it really does create a weird corner at the condition. condition at the corner,
Mhm.
where now the corner jogs. I don't know. To me, this looks like a simple rectangular form, and articulating that wall plane makes it more complicated than it needs to be
For the one further,
for the east one.
further east, yeah.
And you can see what it does. I mean, just compare it to the middle one, right? We've got this jog, we've got a rail. It complicates that corner, and I don't think we need to repeat it. It's okay. I'm okay with it at the middle, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with both, but I don't need them both to be so busy. Is that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, such as that bay on the middle. Be less busy.
Yeah, well, and the other thing, the middle unit is unique in that the garage door really does start to it presents kind of as a 3-story.
Yeah.
The east one is truly a 2. So maybe the necessity of the wall plane break is not as great.
So you're saying the eastern is truly a 2-story?
It reads more as. I mean, it's a tall 2nd-story form with the gable, but 1, 2.
I agree with the simplicity. I don't know if it needs any more articulation. I will say that because of the raised porch and part of the basement showing it, it reads more like three stories to me.
Okay.
But I think that relating to the hotel adjacent, it's probably fine. As is.
The
Eastern building.
one next to
The
Tyrant
hotel.
Hotel.
Okay, Stacy, you want to finish 1 through 7?
Well, sure. So, I talked about 1, 2, they met because the dormers are substantially reduced. They reduced the brick as significantly enough for me. The glazing has been reduced substantially, so I'm good with that. Snow guard's great. Although just from a practical standpoint, it may not be enough just to provide breaks where there are pedestrians. You might want to keep it from between the buildings, but and then we just talked about 6 and 7. So I think I support staff's single condition.
Okay. Kiernan?
Well, I was all prepared to say that 3rd floor should be stepped back, but
Sorry.
no, it's okay. That's what we're here for. We're here to debate. Kind of a compelling argument, I think.
What about the rest of the conditions? Let's see.
The corner is, that one corner is still, I could see improvement there.
Southwest corner.
Yes, thank you.
So you'd be in support of keeping the requirement for 10-foot setback there from the west on lot 7?
I don't know if I would go that far per se. Depending again, if there's more improvement to the southwest corner.
Well, we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
I mean, the land use code says 10 feet, so it's up to us.
Yep.
Okay, what about, Kiernan, relate to this? The brick on number 3, and Chris suggested that it's been met, they removed it from the gables. But I'm having trouble getting around what it says on 30. 31, where it says, or 30A1, that the heavier coarse materials should be used as foundations and more refined materials used above. Especially at the gateway. I'm just curious.
I wasn't a big proponent of the brick having to go away last time. Because brick is a historical building material. It's accepted within the town. And if it's a whole house made out of brick, then the kind of hierarchy of materials just don't, I mean, there's just one material. There's not really a hierarchy. So I think it's fine.
Okay, Matt?
Staying on the brick topic here, I think the only suggestion I would make is in the southwest corner where the brick steps up to the upper gable in the back. That seems a bit odd. Now, I understand that that's a part of sort of the geometry of that brick form, but it seems a bit out of place to me. Having brick up high intermingled with the wood siding. So that's my only comment on materiality. I think that they reduced the amount of brick. I think there's enough differentiation between the forms and the decks, the glazing. The main thing that I'm still going to bring up is I do not think that they moved the southwest southern piece back far enough. So I would reinstate the old number 7. I'd potentially give them a distance. To me, it's more about moving that whole face back a substantial amount than to step it up or step it back. But I do feel that if you did step it back on the second level, then it could also protrude a little bit more to the south. So I think there's a play there. Do you
I'm sure I understand.
So, the gable, the brick gable in the southwest form, I think that, could you go back to the other drawing? Yes. So I think that whole form needs to go back significantly. I think the last meeting I said something like a third of the site. So whether that needs to go back 4 feet or 10 feet, or folks don't think it needs to go back at all, I feel like it needs to be significantly moved off.
The front facade?
The whole front mass just needs to go back. Now, I don't think it's that important that they put a step in that facade or articulate it. I think it reads the 2-story element. I think that's fine. But if they were to step it back on the second story, have a 4-foot jog, then I do think it could come a little bit farther to the south. So it's a play. If they want to step it, the whole mass doesn't have to move back as much. But if they don't want to step it, I think that mass needs to move back significantly. And if they do that, I am fine with dropping that setback from 10 to 5 feet so that they can spill out on the northwest corner as they're showing, and capture that square footage.
So just so I understand
Yeah, can you zoom in on that?
where the
Southwest corner where the property.
where the porch is, the front porch?
Yep.
That maybe push
Could you
it
go
back
back
to
to the
that plane?
Floor plan,
The floor plan.
site plan.
The previous page.
You just had it up. Would you zoom in on that significantly on that southwest corner?
So,
To me, the proximity of that entire mass to the bike path, to the street, to the entrance of the town is way too close.
so it'd be where the front little porch is, and then there's that closet or whatever it is. If it was back to that plane,
I mean,
that's what you're saying,
I would, if I was gonna throw out a number, I would tell them to
Significant.
take that entire mass back 10 feet.
Yeah.
everything.
So you'd ask for 53 feet from Colorado Avenue.
I don't know what the distance is.
It's
from
42 foot,
Colorado,
8.5.
But
It's-
it looks like it's about 9 feet from the front setback line. If you were to take that 5-foot line and extend it over to hit the corners of the building, it looks like about 9 feet. So I'd add another 10 feet to that.
And I would agree. I know.
I would disagree. I think they're well within their lot and they're well within the setback.
Okay, well, we'll see where that goes. I mean, we still have to override the land use code, if we're gonna allow this, so. Bob, you wanna?
Well, I guess I am one of the rare times I'm gonna agree with Stacy. I don't see it. When I look at, the space you've got there, you got the bike path to the road, that's gonna be landscaped in between there, I'm assuming by somebody. I don't have a problem with, when I look at what he had before for that building and what's there now, I think it's much improved. I don't have a problem with Unit A, the way that's been articulated with the deck. I have a little bit of problem with Unit, I guess it's B.
Middle unit?
No, the far
All right.
east unit, because you do have such a tall, exposed brick surface there. And I'm wondering if it'd be possible to step that, at the upper level, could be just a simple little, a roof, not a deck, but just something that pushes it back a little bit and breaks that line above the second floor windows and between the second floor windows and the third floor windows.
Are you talking about sort of a little awning roof, a projection? Or you
Like
talking
a little shed roof, kind of like what's on the bump out in the middle one,
Mhm.
similar to that. Just a small shed, could be a couple feet. Just to give that some articulation there.
And that would be, where would that be?
On building B,
Yeah.
How
high?
between the,
Second floor windows?
well, wherever the floor line comes in,
Oh, okay.
and then just step that back a couple feet, put a little shed roof there. You don't have to put a deck, and step that whole piece slightly back. And I don't think it would have a huge impact on the plan or anything, what they're trying to do inside. And I think that's what they need to do. The whole thing on the east side or the west side, I think it's broken up enough. And I think you've got space. You're going to have landscaping between that walkway and the bike path. And I think I like that. I like that that unit, lot 7A, I think works pretty well. There's articulation between the front and the back. Maybe that wall that Matt was talking about, that's part of where it's wood, that one piece of it that's brick, maybe that should be wood as well instead of the brick back there. But overall, I think it's, again, I wasn't here in May to discuss it, but I think it's a vast improvement from what I just saw from the last go round.
Okay. I agree with Stacy that it has been much improved. But I'd like to visualize something here, because I think we're gonna need, depending on this motion, and some of the topics that brought up, we may need to see this again, but what does the 10-foot, to comply with the land use code of 10-foot setback from that west, what does that do to that southwest corner?
Doesn't do anything to the
Doesn't do
southwest.
anything to the southwest.
Oh, it's just from the west.
Yeah, the only place they're taking advantage of
Is in the-
dropping it to a 5-foot setback as they're proposing is from, the upper half of the building.
Okay.
Northern half.
Okay.
And the basement that's under the porch.
So I'll go down the list. Number one, I think they have improved, but I would agree with Matt. It needs to go back, my belief. I'd like to see it at 10 feet. Maybe then we say, oh, well, it could be 8. I don't know. But off the bike path, again, it's the entry. It needs to be back. I feel on this most sensitive corner left to build on as we enter town. And I just think it needs to be back. I would concur with Bob's idea. Stacy almost had me swung with compliance because of the big hotel, but context of neighborhood. But I still think the east building with a 2-foot setback and a shed roof would help break that facade up. On the middle building and on number 1, mass and scale, I'm uncertain about this big bay window appendage, especially, and as Stacy noted, the appearance of almost 3 stories here. And it just adds complication to this. I'd like to get some more feedback from.
I
particularly the
think it
architect.
helps.
You think it helps?
Yes, I do. I think to me, the garage and the driveway, it doesn't bother me so much because it's very tight
Okay.
and it's not, it's
Yep.
7 or 8 feet below grade. It's not completely buried. So I think that bay window absolutely helps that
Okay.
garage.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
It
helps
provides
reduce the
some
overall
relief
effect
and
of
some
the door.
shadow for the garage door.
okay.
Yeah.
So forget that. So I think in summary on mass and scale, on the far building to the right, I would agree with Bob's idea of setting that back. I mean, the middle building is set back 4 foot for a patio, but even if it went 2 or 3 feet with some sort of shed, I think that would help. Okay, leave the middle building alone, except for, I looked at drawing, on these additional 2 pages, GL, south elevation. My belief that it'd be more compliant scale wise if it, rather than 1.5 lowering, if it went another 1.5, and that would give you a straight line pretty much, equal to top of that, or just below that top of that gable, so the gable would,
You're talking about the middle building?
yeah, I just thought it should be I thought it should be 3 foot lower.
The big roof in the back.
Well, I'm looking at the south elevation, the height of this, that we wanted to step down, Bob, at the last meeting, we said step down, and I think 18 inches didn't quite do it for me. Stepping this, from this gable to
Yeah.
that gable, okay. So my suggestion was another 18 inches or a foot. And again, on the.
Can they,
Go
can they
ahead.
achieve that by reducing their roof slope? I mean, is that what we want to see?
I don't think so.
Go to the drawing that showed the change that
It's
you made.
912.
I think so.
I don't think you want to change that.
Okay, I'm just asking, I'm just getting it out there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think you'd want to change that.
Or you can see the gable going all the way up to the red line previously.
The red line, the dashed
Yeah.
line is the old roof.
Yeah, so
To me, it seems to step up with the grade. It seems to step up to the hotel. I'm fine with the changes that they've made there.
Yeah, I don't see a
But that-
problem with that.
Okay, oh, I don't need to take a straw poll. I can see that's washed out. So I'm gonna stand firm on the east building with a setback at least 2 feet and a shed roof and 10-foot setback of the southwest corner. And I thought of another way to do that maybe, but, and I agree with the brick on that rear gable on lot 7. I mean, it's just overpowering. I mean, but I thought maybe this addition, and I even worked it out, you'd lose a bathroom. But not that we need to look at function, but just trying to be reasonable. With that kind of rear wooden section on lot 7 towards the ball fields, that appendage that sticks out, I could see how they could come in from the back, maybe not the front, maybe that cobbles it up, but look, if it's 10-foot setback, I don't care. It's fine to stay as it is. But I think we should stay with it. And then, so the brick, I guess, except for that rear gable, that was a good idea. And the dorm was taken care of. So really, for me, it's just about the final mass and scale. And I'll give up on the height of the middle building. There's at least 3 that say no. So we need to take a straw poll before we do a motion then. So who would support more compliance to guideline with the east building, even though it's against the hotel, having a 2-foot setback, as Bob suggested, with a little shed on it to further break up that apparent well, it is almost 3 stories rise. So who would support that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So then the rear brick on that behind that rear gable, we okay reducing that?
That, it seems,
It
it's
just
not on the
adds-
right building for,
Yeah. It's like you got 2 buildings.
It's on the wrong building, yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, and then these are times that try men's souls, aren't they? The gateway to town. We have one suggestion from Matt. I would second it on setting that back 10 feet. We could come up with some arbitrary number, or we could just say set it back. Do we have a third vote for setting that back on that
Can I
corner?
ask a question? You're talking the west side, but isn't that,
It's gonna go back.
this is 10 feet now,
Yes.
right? The side of unit D. is 10 feet.
Well, I'm on lot 7.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unit D, I believe, is 10 feet.
right.
Unit
Okay.
E
Sidewalk.
is 5 on the west.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we're
right.
saying, you're saying
5 feet
you would want that to be 10 feet all the way back.
Yes. Well, Matt, unless you were saying 15 feet.
I was saying that essentially the entirety of that southern massing, call it unit D, needs to move back an additional 10 feet to the north.
Oh, so that's.
Matt wants to reduce the square footage of unit D by 40%.
D, you're saying D from the south, push that back?
I'm saying that this massing of this structure is too close to Colorado and too close to the bike path and interrupts the green belt through there too much. So last time we suggested substantially, it got moved minimally.
Yep.
So now I'm suggesting a number.
Okay, so.
So there's a 5-foot setback now, which hits that corner. So if you did another 5 feet,
So it looks to me, scaling it, it was about 9 feet. Maybe it's 10 is what's existing from the property line.
so you're saying a total of 10 feet, not additional 10 feet.
I'm saying additional 10 feet.
Wow.
Okay. Let me suggest something. Okay,
Okay.
I think we need to see this again.
I don't.
Well, 4 out of 5. And I think, Matt, maybe we could, because Kieran, well, I don't know what you agreed to, 10 more feet or 10 feet total.
I didn't agree to 10 more feet seems a little much to me.
What I was gonna suggest is that we have 3 votes for moving that corner back.
You do?
Why don't we phrase this a minimum of 5 additional feet and see what it looks like? And could we get a visual from across the street? So we could visualize, like we did across the street on Canyonland, so we could see what it looks like coming up the street.
You're not going to see it. You're not going to perceive it from across the street. You'll
No, well,
perceive
from
it from the
up-
bus stop. Or
Yeah.
from the,
Driving down.
Driving,
Walking down.
driving into town. That's my fear. So would we, Kieran, that you would be the third vote, could we consider a minimum of 5 feet further setback of that, so I'm sorry, is that E? Or
it's
D?
lot 7, unit D.
Yeah, D, of D. And we look at it and give us a visual down the street.
Did you see this one?
Okay, we can't have any more dialogue. Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
okay.
I'd
So,
be fine with modifying that to see what 5 feet.
a minimum, let's see what it looks like before we go off,
And it's additional 5 feet on the south.
west
Corner.
unit, lot D,
Yeah.
lot
On
7.
on the
D.
front face
Yeah,
where,
the front fascia.
Just imagining that whole mass as designed moving back 5 feet.
Ron, sorry, if the applicant could go back to the previous image. I just ask you what you're protecting. You're protecting the view to unit A. You're protecting the view to a building just beyond it. You're not protecting views to the mountains. You're not protecting views to anything.
I
You're not
think it's a
protecting
screen
views
space
down
on
the
the-
street.
I think it's just, well,
Okay, I think it's too much.
I
I think
appreciate
it's introduction, number 1, Colorado Avenue corridor. It's one of the things that we kept going back to. I think you the one that originally brought it up on the Tower House and the Canyonland projects.
okay.
but if you, I'm still a bit confused on this. If you go back another 5 feet from the 5-foot setback, other than the post on the porch, it's almost compliant. I mean, just a tiny bit off.
Well, and to be fair, this is the view from the Clark's parking lot. That's not the view we want to see.
No, I'm looking at the plan.
No, I know.
What are we doing? 5 feet doesn't change anything. Additional 5 feet from the
I
setback.
think it would make a big difference.
I think I'd like to see it. Sounds like we have 3 votes to see it, and then Bob, we can
But
make a decision.
we're not going to see it and then say, oh, yeah, you're right. That's too much. Let's go back to what you proposed the last.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
I don't know, but I know one thing, we're 68 feet back at the first Canyonlands building, just so you remember what we did. And I went down and looked at it today and measured it. So,
And just clarify again, the unit E, the wall that's 5 feet from the east property line, that can stay?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that we would allow them to reduce the western side yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet.
Mhm.
If they
Which is-
push, essentially increase the southern setback.
At least an additional 5 feet.
Yes.
Okay, well, right now we have 3 straw poll approvals to see that.
And just to be clear, I'm not saying just take that setback line and move it to 10 feet to where it is now. I'm saying taking that entire mass and moving it back a minimum of 5 feet.
Moving the
They're 5
mass
feet
back,
north.
not the setback.
Yeah, let's not talk about the setback.
Okay.
Let's just talk
I
about
know
the massing.
I'm just trying to
Yeah.
understand what we're trying to do here.
Okay,
And so basically you'd be coming back about where the back of the porch is,
yeah,
where the entry door
entry
is,
door.
and bringing that across there.
It would just soften, well, we've discussed it, so we have 3 for that. I made enough notes, I think I can make a motion. I welcome any friendly amendments if I don't get this right. So, and then the continuation, well, she already recommended continuation September.
No, this one was.
Oh, wait a minute, oh my God. Okay, so do we continue to September or October? I don't know what's coming at us in the backlog.
I think certainly no later than September, I would say. You'll be ready for that, right?
We could finish that revision in about 4 minutes here if you want to.
Okay, well, we're gonna go to September because
I mean, we
we've got
could,
some people that are ready to go.
do you think so?
September 17th. Okay. So, something else?
No, we were just trying to decide between August and September,
Well,
but September sounds great.
okay. Again, I know we have these 2 big town projects coming at us. I'm just trying to get a pulse of when they're coming so we don't go to 11 o'clock again.
Yes.
I'm
not-
willing to, but,
I'm not aware of any project coming before you in August at this point in time.
or September.
I think if the app, I think it's pretty, not taking into account land use code, possible site coverage, not taking into account floor plan changes. If we're just moving that mass back, we're articulating the eastern unit, like Bob said, we're changing one brick thing. It's pretty simple. So
Okay.
I think we could go to August. if
So
that
we have
would
room
work.
on the agenda in August, and I'll tell you what, Ron, we'll move it back up to August. We heard what you said. You'll have it in 10 days.
Thank you, yeah.
And that's
Days is
I
up for
figured
deadline,
August well.
20,
So,
20th.
great.
Okay. I move to continue the preliminary to August 20th, the preliminary large-scale new construction lot 7-8 San Juan Village based on the findings and staff memo dated July 16th with the following conditions. 1 as written. 2 would be okay. Setback the entire mass of the southwest corner lot 7 building D, an additional 5 feet per introduction. Paragraph 1 on the Colorado corridor sensitivity. And we'll do mass scale at the same time. Setback the and I'm going to add, hang on, and I'm going to add conditions also AC 13, AC 16, and AC 16B. Thank you. And on the far east building unit,
Is this a number 3 or is this a continuation?
well, I was gonna keep it going into, because we're on mass scale. And this is, what is this, A? The far east building?
No, it's, far east, building B, unit B.
The east unit B building setback above the second floor windows, a minimum of 2 feet, and add a shed roof to break up the mass and scale per AC 23A1, AC 23-1, 2, and 3. Okay, that's mass and scale. Number 3, eliminate the brick on the Lot 7D building in the rear gable facing Colorado per AC 30A1 and 4 and AC 31D. I think that's it.
And keep the one about the,
And yeah, we kept one, so.
Yeah.
So, I don't have the right sentence. This. It's, this, motion is based on evidence testimony provided at a public hearing held on July 16th with the notice such hearing provided as required by the Telluride Land Use Code. I welcome any friendly amendments. Did we get it covered?
Matt will second.
Kieran?
Kieran, yes.
Stacy, no.
Matt, yes.
Mark, yes.
Bob, yes.
Well, thank you very much. We'll see you in August shortly.
Right around the corner.
And we need to have a motion on the fourth public hearing item. If someone would like to make that. Or discussion.
I can do that.
As close as I can find it.
What did I do with it?
What's another?
Okay, yeah. Big file.
We have two separate files.
I move to continue without discussion to August 20th, 2025 HARC meeting. The Stender, is that how you say it? Stender residence located at Lot C, Block 3, Halls addition to the town of Telluride.
I'll second that. Kieran, yes.
Stacy, yes.
Matt, yes.
Mark, yes?
Bob, yes.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your hard work on this tonight. And before we adjourn, past 8:30.
Only 5 minutes.
Well, I just wanted to say, maybe at the next meeting, that could be a long meeting. I found it very interesting enough that I was going to maybe try to connect Kristen with their preservationist in Newport. And again, 300 years of practice, but I'm going to give you 3 interesting things just to think about.
Well, they haven't been in practice for 300 years. The buildings might be 300 years old, but they haven't had a historic district or
Well,
a review board for 300 years.
That's correct.
Just to,
Okay. Number one, I thought it intriguing that if in the rare circumstance, even over the last 10 years, no matter who the staff was, that we agreed carte blanche with all conditions as written, that they could do a shortcut. Now you may find this interesting and I'm not proposing it. I'm saying. And at the beginning of the meeting, the board says, we agree and could issue what's called a summary judgment. No testimony, no questions, just issue us. I've got about 8 of these, but I'm only going to give you 3 just to whet your appetite.
What about public comment?
No public comment. No public comment. By the way, they only have 3 board members.
Well, that's
Okay.
obviously kidding.
I mean, I can help out if you want to go that
Been
direction.
doing it- They have been doing it since the 1880s. There was some sort of it wasn't called HARC, but
They only get.
I love the
people to do
idea,
it.
but it seems like we short circuit
okay.
process.
They have 10 to 15, this blew me away, 10 to 15 projects every month on the board. You can imagine a bustling community like that. The meetings average about 4 hours, sometimes 5. But of course, we go 4 hours and we have 4. I'm not saying anything.
That's because there's 5 or 6 of us that have to talk. It takes twice as long.
Yeah, well, 3 people. We should fire
They're
3
the
of
ones
us.
that just talk to themselves a lot of the time.
I'll go. Okay. And then, wow, one more. There's so many. That like our work sessions, if it's headed in the wrong direction, and I know we've been told and legally that we don't have this, that after the first one, if it's that far off, they can send them back to a subcommittee that, like a work session, that works out the details, and they don't bother coming back to this board until they've got it right. I really like that one. but I don't know who the heck the subcommittee would
And
be.
you only got three.
Subcommittee.
Oh, she says oftentimes
Half?
it's the planner and one board member.
Really?
So Crested Butte has a design review committee, which is a subcommittee of Bozar. So I think it's staff and chair, and maybe one other
Yeah,
that rotate.
well.
I nominate Matt and Mark to be on the subcommittee.
Okay,
I can see-
anyway, that's the end. I'll adjourn the meeting at 8:39 PM. Just food for thought. Thank you very much, everybody.
Look forward to moving.